came, they all were during the winter. And then they
The odds of you being hit by a hurricane. Yeah.
What's the population of Fate now? Are y'all DPS? Are you?
The train passed the wagon train. So they went by train and they actually passed the wagon. That's how slow.
So more than likely you'll be hiring a new fire chief. You'll probably keep your police chief. You're going to start with 2 new chiefs. Okay. Yeah, I mean, y'all are one of the last, if not the last. No, he's still DPS. Y'all too. I mean, even the airport's got away from DPS.
Yeah, I think for the city our size, I think it's better to be
I can't find a city that it works in, really. I mean, it's a budget deal. That's why they were originally implemented, to curtail the budget. But it's 2 different mindsets. Right. That's everybody in the metroplex. Who runs those dispatch? Do y'all mutual aid with Rockwall? Sure. Okay. So they probably don't have EMD. Yeah, one of the smallest counties in the state. Is one a backup center, or they bring both online every day? Really? They just tell you how much to write them a check for, and you agree or disagree. Yeah. So you have a mutual aid agreement that's tied to your dispatch agreement? Oh, okay.
Welcome to our Poetry Town Council meeting for our beautiful town of Poetry, Texas on this Thursday, December 19th, 2024. We welcome you and want you to feel heard, valued, informed, and connected to your town and its council. We welcome diversity of opinion and want minority views as well as majority views to be heard. We also appreciate mutual respect despite opposing view. Your opinions, suggestions, and comments in favor of or against a topic are welcome. However, this town council meeting is not the time to ask questions or for interrogations. We encourage anyone having questions to come either talk to us at a break or after the meeting, or to email or schedule a meeting with us. At this time, I need to remind the public that a disruption of this meeting may be considered a criminal offense according to Texas Penal Code 3813 and 4205. You must be signed up to speak during the meeting and stay on topic according to state law. To preserve the order and decorum of the meeting, any person who makes profane, slanderous, threatening remarks or becomes disruptive during the meeting will be asked to leave or may be escorted out by an officer and given a citation. At this time, our Deputy City Secretary, Teresa Scholander, will take roll call.
Mayor Tara Sinkovich.
Here.
Councilmember Simeon White.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Jaffe.
Here.
Councilmember Tom Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Jonathan Blake.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Fowler.
Here.
And quorum is confirmed. At this time, Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Blake will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then the invocation. Please rise and remain standing. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we ask you to
remarks tonight as we discuss the town's business. We ask your blessing on this meeting. We want to thank you for the time of season that we get to remember the birth of your son, and that the world recognizes that he is the light of the world. And we ask all this in his name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Blake. Okay, under citizen comments, we have two citizens who have signed up to speak. From Holly Creek, Doug Kendrick.
Never be first, never be last.
With two, you're gonna hit one of those.
Yeah.
Doug Kendrick, Holly Creek, thank you, Mayor and Council. Couple of things, well, really one at a time. I was just going to ask if there was reconsideration of the possibility, and I'm new at the new procedure as far as speaking on the council agendas. But for me, it's sometimes hard to try to speak intelligently on some of the items unless I hear what conversations are going on amongst the council and other speakers to come up here and start talking about an item that I'm not quite sure, and I don't want to misspeak on any of the items or content of any of the agendas. So I was just asking possibly if maybe reconsider. And I started to understand probably the reasoning for it, because there are cities and county meetings that do have such a rule, if you will. But we're still a small community, and I would think maybe it gives opportunity for the people in the community to actually speak intelligently on some of the things that they could talk about, but it's hard, and unless I just pick up a packet from the city every time a council comes. But if you was gonna do that with all the population, your paper supply would probably go down. So, that's one of the things that I was really wanting to see if there was some reconsider for myself to speak. I can't speak for the rest of the community on this, but it is difficult for me, from my background, to be able to come and talk to y'all about an item that y'all already haven't addressed yet, for me to give content to that item. So, just a thought. I didn't really see anything else on there was a deal.
Sounds like a mouse. Oh.
Is it not on?
Yeah, it's on. Yeah.
Oh, I say sorry. I was doing a repair job. It came loose, but
Yeah. It sounds like a mouse is eating the mic or something.
Down the speaker.
sorry about that. Okay, now I got it.
Again, one of the items for specific would be there was an item on there about a personnel handbook. Again, I can't really speak on that. I would have an interest in that, but I don't know what the content would be for having a handbook. I know other cities that try to duplicate something in somebody else's handbook, their policies and handbooks sometimes they sound the same, but they're also different according to what community or city that it's addressing. So, anyway, I appreciate the time. Y'all have a good Christmas and a safe holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Just for everyone's information, the full packet is generally posted at 6:30 p.m. every Monday before the Thursday meeting. The employee handbook is in there, so if you want to read it, you do have several days to try and digest that. And you're welcome. I've put my phone number on about everywhere, so if you have any questions, feel free to call me, call one of the council members, and we'd be happy to discuss what we know about what's going on. So,
Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you, Doug. Scott Leahy.
Good evening, everyone. Scott Lehue, County Road 2426, and I would actually just like to follow Doug's statement there on the comment, the structure of the comments. I know we moved, I think the idea was to move the general comments to the beginning of the meeting because the meetings sometimes run long and people need to go, and so if they have a general comment to make, they can do that. I would suggest for the council's consideration to go back to, leave the general comments at the beginning as it is, but go back to having a comment section after each agenda item, because I couldn't agree more. It is much easier to comment on something after we've heard y'all's discussion, because so many times, my comment is, you answer it. I don't have a comment because it's been, you've covered it. So I would just like to suggest that for, that restructuring for a future item for you all on the council to consider. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. I believe that's all. Is that all that signed up? These two? Okay. All right. That's all of our citizen comments. So under items of community interest, we have thanks to the volunteer road team who worked on November 22nd on CR 249. We have Herbert Fletcher, Zach Lee, Kevin Sinkovich, myself, Brian Benson, and Sherry Benson. Thank you so much. Thanks to Councilmember Anderson and Becky Carter for assistance with the Volunteer Appreciation Dinner and Hayride setup. They were there for hours. Thank you so much. Thanks for all who showed up. It was a very fun night, and we hope to do it again next year, inviting anyone who's contributed at least 30 minutes to 30 hours or at least $5 to $500 since the town's formation. If you did not receive an invitation, please email to secretary@poetrytexas.org with the correct address so that we can make sure our records are up to date and accurate. I love this. It's a quote by our own council member Anderson that kind of sums up the whole volunteer process. It says, I think all of us have volunteered out of a sense of duty, our family upbringing, and our desire to leave poetry, our country, and the world a better place. We don't seek recognition other than that from our own individual conscience. We want to sleep well at night knowing we did our best. So thank you for that. Thanks to the Christmas Lights Committee members, Bob Bowles, Robin Bowles, Becky Carter, Candy Fletcher, Ann Hamilton, Ray Hiragoen, and Sherry Vinson, who've solicited from area businesses for prizes and are working on all kinds of preparations. The Evie Anderson Christmas Lights event is this Saturday, December 21st at 5 p.m. right here at Town Hall. You can see some of the decorations are already in the works. Thank you to our business event sponsors, Burgers and Fries, Chewy's in Terrell, Texas Roadhouse in Terrell, Los Hermanos in Terrell, Matt's Rancheros in Rice City, Poetry Tack and Ag and Poetry, and the Magnolia Soap and Bath Company out of Fate. Moving on to reports. We have the November end report. We have our deposits of $9,300.62. We have our check total of $42.30.77, and then we have our debits of a total of $58.40.23. Our ending balance of $153,713.73.
I have a question.
Okay.
In October, I asked you about outstanding checks, and you said that we weren't obligated to put them on there, and I get that. But as we have such a small budget and make decisions, like last month, we spent $6,500 given to the volunteer road team. I follow up with an email to Teresa to find out how many outstanding checks we had, and it was reported that we had $10,500 with outstanding checks. So that's money that will never return to our account, even if it's not cash that has to be submitted to the state.
Not necessarily.
Regardless, as a council member with such a short budget, can we add a line item of actual funds that can be spent that's not accounted for? That's all I'm asking. A $10,500 difference in those numbers is quite significant.
Okay, you know, every time you do a bank reconciliation, there's always checks. And yeah, I mean, I guess we could add, there's one little spot here, we can probably add a few. Now, you know, if people hold on to a check or something, we had some reimbursements and that kind of thing. But no, we did list the ones for the FEC. Of course, we had to take off the names.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, but as time goes on, that will vary, you know,
And
it varies
will.
every month. And so,
And we will probably outgrow our little budget sooner than later, but I mean, that's
what do you mean,
significant.
outgrow our budget?
Outgrow this little budget where it will have less impact on
Oh,
the
I see
overall
what you're
budget.
saying,
Yeah.
yeah.
How much longer does the auditor want these listed on
Just
this?
one more year, right?
Those, so, in July, we will cut a check to Texas Comptroller for the amount of the uncleared checks. Texas Comptroller will hold that money, and those will then be unclaimed money. Like when you get a notification that you have unclaimed money
So-
from the state. So those
We'll
will
have plenty of
always-
space then.
Those will always.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Come
It'll,
July.
it'll be
it
cleared
could,
off in
it could
July.
clearly be under 153,000.
Yeah.
You could cut the 10.5 off of it and go out. You know, you could just write outstanding checks 10,500.
Yeah.
With the operating budget. Number.
Well, those are already taken off of that. Like
Are
that's
they?
already, yeah, no, that's already.
For sure.
That's already taken off of our, when
'Cause
we
I
write
thought-
a check.
I thought the only deductions on this page is what showed up. What has cleared our bank.
Yeah, those, they're.
They're not
So
on
off
here.
of our general fund balance though, isn't it already off of that one?
I think we said it was,
It's the same number.
once they show up on the
Yeah, no,
statement.
they're not cleared, they're just sitting out there
Yeah.
outstanding.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
They're on the bank rec.
All right, so sales and use tax revenue report. We've got $158,295.36. We've got the road fund balance of $109,362.80 and our general fund balance of $44,350.93. All right, any questions on that? Okay. All right, so we had a question on the H14 project sheet, completed November 20, it was completed November 22nd, so I think last council meeting, I said I was gonna meet with the commissioner regarding that. He had a lot of questions about it. The volunteer roads, team captain, if you wanna call it that, Kevin and I met him, and they took care of it like that day, or and so that's all completed, and it looks really good. They used, a new piece of equipment and looks really good, so. The Texas Department of Agriculture grant application for roadways, we submitted that on December 9th. That did go through, and we'll hopefully be able to report more on that next time. So that was kind of a rabbit trail, but we got her done. So on November 24th, Judge Blair issued a signed order of dismissal of the entire lawsuit and all claims filed by plaintiffs West, Smith, and Aiken against the town of Poetry, Hunt, and Kaufman, and all Poetry Town Council members and mayor. Number 5, the mayor's proclamation to make May 4th as a town holiday is Jennifer M.R. Day. Did all of you get that in your packet?
Yes.
Okay. So for those who are maybe are watching online, we're gonna present this Saturday, so I have a framed certificate, but I'll go ahead and read a section of this. For the first time in poetry's history, it's a resident who is poetry raised has made the national spotlight for Female Vocalist of the Year at International Singers and Songwriters Association, the ISSA Awards in Atlanta, Georgia in 2024. Whereas the community wishes to acknowledge Jennifer's achievement for receiving the award's Best Pop Song of the Year in 2023 for her song She's Like a Tide, and Best Pop Song for, quote, Do-Over in the summer of 2024, both as World Songwriters Association, the WSA. And the town of Poetry is proud to call her daughter and recognize her high level of personal achievement and service to her art. So we'll be presenting that to her, and we're very proud of Jennifer. Okay, number 6, Secretary's memo, read by Town Secretary, Deputy Secretary Teresa's here to read that for us. A nice rare treat.
Christmas tree lighting and Evie Anderson Christmas Light Contest. We are thrilled to announce the most magical event of the holiday season, our annual tree lighting ceremony. Mark your calendars for Saturday, December 21st, when we'll illuminate the night with the twinkling lights and jubilant joy right here at our,
Can you read that and then start with that?
oh, is it?
Yeah, it got
She
modified.
changed? Okay, my apologies. This month, you want me to start with this month?
Sure.
The city's annual audit for the dates of 10/1/23 through 09/30/2024 has been successfully completed and sent to our auditor. We extend our appreciation to Secretary Teresa for her invaluable assistance throughout the audit process. Additionally, beginning this month, I have initiated ongoing efforts to update our online road report and maintain the current status of resolutions and ordinances on the city's website. Number 2, Evie Anderson's Christmas Light Event. We are thrilled to announce the most magical event of the holiday season, our annual tree lighting ceremony. Mark your calendars for Saturday, December 21st, when we'll illuminate the night with the twinkling lights and jubilant joy right here at our town hall, starting at a merry hour of 5 p.m. Come one, come all, and join us in spreading Christmas cheer that will warm even the coldest winter night. But wait, there's more festive excitement to unwrap. We'll be revealing the dazzling winners of our Christmas Light Contest, crowning those whose homes have transformed into winter wonderlands that would make Santa himself stop and stare in awe. A quick jingle of a reminder to our contest participants. Our jolly judges have made their secret rounds on the evening of December 17th and 18th as they evaluated the most spectacular holiday displays. So dust off your ugly Christmas sweaters, warm up your caroling voices, and get ready for an evening of pure holiday magic. Enjoy the hot cocoa, cookies, and the petting zoo. We will have a new baby Highlander calf for everyone to enjoy. We can't wait to see all your bright, beautiful faces. Notice of candidates filing period for municipal elections. The Town of Poetry announces the official candidate filing period for upcoming municipal elections. Candidates interested in running for office may obtain and submit their election packets as follows. Filing period details. The start date is January 15th, 2025. The end date is February 15th, 2025. Which I believe that's actually the 14th at 5 p.m. because that's a Friday. Final filing hours, February 15th, 2025, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Candidate packets will be available for pickup Thursday, January 2nd, 2025 from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Town Hall. This information is also posted on the Town Bulletin Board attached to the Town Hall front door and can be viewed on the town website at poetrytexas.org. Interested candidates are encouraged to review all requirements and submit their application material during the specific filing period.
Thank you.
So Charlie, are the packets going to be downloadable, or just information about the dates is going to be on the website?
That's up to the secretaries.
Okay,
I believe we'll have the packets online.
okay,
You can also pick them up in person.
okay. But it'll be the same thing? you just-
Yes, it'll be the
Okay,
same
good.
packet.
Yeah, just make it easier for people.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
They've been working hard on that, that's all I know.
And to that, but we
Yeah.
will. That's-
Okay, approved consent agenda, moving on to consent agenda number 1, approved minutes from the November 21st, 2024 meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
We have a motion by Blake, seconded by White, to approve the minutes as written. All those in favor? And that passes 5-0. Okay. And approving the legal bill of 2313, 2150s for the West Smith Aiken versus Poetry lawsuit. So
Motion to approve.
Second?
we have a motion by Blake, seconded by White, to approve the legal bill. All those in favor? And that passes 5-0. Moving on to the regular agenda. Okay, so we have discussing the update on the prospective Bishop Airfield LLC MUD. I've asked Councilmember Anderson, who has been working hard and heavy on this, and so, go ahead.
Well, yeah, mostly been phone calls, which was pretty difficult actually, because trying to find out the status of, and as I mentioned last time, that the TCEQ needed to come out and look for the tanks, the underground storage tanks, which was the main thing I was looking at. And anyway, they finally got out, and the guy called me with TCEQ and said they found the vents and coming from the tanks, which tanks have to be vented, but they couldn't dig. The owner, of course, wouldn't give them approval to dig to locate the tanks. So he said there was a couple of above ground tanks there, but anyway, he ran into roadblocks. So and he said, really, I guess he didn't know where they were going. And I told him, from our point of view, if there were tanks at one time and they were leaking, then that leak is still there, whether the tanks are there or not. The leak gets into the soil because it was there for 40 or 50 years or a long time. And so he said, well, he'd pass that information on up through their organization. So I felt a little stiff-armed by the whole thing, so I went through, started calling EPA. I spent a week leaving voicemails at the EPA in the Region 4 office, Region 6 office rather, in Fort Worth, different ones couldn't get back, no, sorry, in Dallas. It's Region 6 in Dallas is EPA. Region 4, TCEQ is in Fort Worth. Anyway, so I left all these messages, couldn't get anybody. Finally called this week. Finally, I reached a live person at the EPA. They wouldn't even return my calls. And so this person says, okay, I explained the situation. And so she said, I'll get you to the right person. And after 2 more phone calls, finally got to the person who said, yeah, I'm in that group that looks at underground storage tanks and wanted all the information. So I told her basically with the same story. And so she said, okay, well, I'm going to get some action. I'll get back with you. Well, today I got an email back from her and she said, well, we have talked with TCEQ in Austin. See, I'd been talking with TCEQ. I first called them in Austin. They referred me to Fort Worth. This woman said, no, we talked to another person in Austin and said, this is the person that's going to be investigating those tanks. And she is with the underground tank side of the EPA, of the TCEQ. So it's kind of getting kicked around, it seems like, but back to the TCEQ, but this time it's in Austin. And so the woman emailed me back today and she said that you'll be getting a call from the TCEQ in Austin about this from the person who's in the underground tank part of that. So we'll see. It's it's going around in a lot of circles, but I guess the other side is that nothing is happening that it has to be done today. So we do have a little time, I think. But I guess the other answer is TCEQ is going to be looking at it, and I did point out to them again that everyone I've talked to is that it doesn't matter if the tanks are there or not. If they were there for 40 years and they leak, the soil's contaminated, and you can't build housing on top of contaminated soil. That's a RCRA law. And the person with the EPA that I talked to in Region 6 confirmed. She said, yeah, that is a big issue. You can't put in housing on contaminated soil, and she promised we'll get this and get it kicked up. Well, it ended up getting kicked back to the TCEQ, but it's in Austin. So it's still a long way to go and be more phone calls, but that's kind of where we are.
Okay, well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Tom. Tom has been a real stalwart on just being determined to get some answers for us, and we really appreciate it. In fact, he's got a notebook like this big now, so on all, when we're still early in the
Trump
process.
thinks he's going to reorganize the government. And say, lots of luck. Hope he can do better than me.
Thank you so much for that. Well, I had the privilege of being asked, I think I mentioned before, to come to some of the mayor's meetings for Rockwall County, since we have a little sliver of our ETJs in Rockwall. And, we have some very experienced mayors, and I'm just gleaning from their expertise. And tonight we have the Honorable David Billings, Mayor of Fate. So Fate has had explosive growth. They are now at 30,000 in population. I think when he took office, you said 5 years ago, they were only at 6,000, and much of it was already, and you can explain this, had already been in the works before he even got in there. So he's had to deal with that, and since he has been dealing with this on the legislative level, I thought he might be a really good person to speak to us on this. Discuss efforts to affect change with the municipal utility districts at a comprehensive level and legislative strategies for such. So, are we ready? Okay.
All right, thank you. Really appreciate you allowing me to come today. One of my passions is, for some weird reason, is to go to Austin and fight the battles with Austin. So, just a quick thing about Fate, just a lot of rumors about our growth, and we have explosive growth since 2014. We got from 6,000 to about 30,000. The interesting part about Fate is we've had 4 developers own about 1,000 acres of the city. We're only 12 square miles, 2 commercial developers and 2 residential developers. They were entitled, the housing was entitled in 2006 and 2008. The commercial was bought in like 1994, 1995 in that area, right? So, as you probably know, is that one zone is entitled there's nothing the city can do to stop it, right? It was titled early 2000s, and the growth is just, we've seen in the last 6 years. So like my house, most of the houses were built in the last 5-6 years. And the city, last 3 city councils have only approved less than 1,000 homes in 6 years. So the city councils lately have been really trying to do a better thought pattern on how we grow in a very conservative fiscal manner. But a lot of the growth is from a long time ago. So it's just kind of, I know there's rumors out there like we let all this growth, and that's just probably not true. I'm going to talk really quickly today is about some of the issues and MUDs, some of the pending issues in the legislature. And then Tara asked me to kind of walk you through on how to testify in Austin. I've done it many times. If you want to go down to Austin and testify, it is a process. And I'll kind of briefly walk you through all that. Makes sense? One thing to talk about local decision making is in our DNA. This is my latest attempt to capitalize this in one sentence. I think that's true. In Texas, that's what we do. We're free, and we want to stay that way. We want local decision making, stay local. One thing you'll notice, I don't say control anymore. I say local decision making. Control kind of freaks out Austin. So, and that just the way to think about it. So that's my good. So this is Rockwell County. Some fun facts for legislature, real quick. There about in last session, 8,300 bills were introduced. Around 1,800 were introduced against the cities, on all cities in Texas, and about 230 were passed. Okay, so far, about 2,000 bills have been pre-filed, which just started on November 12th, and that will end in March. And TML is tracking about 402 of them right now that are critical to cities. Various bills have been, MUD bills have been filed in the early session. We talked a little bit about that. Just, the opening session is January 14th, 2025. Last day to file the bills is March 14th. And Sinai Day, Sinai Day is at the last day of the session. It ends at midnight. They cannot extend it. Only the governor can extend the session by a special session. And Sinai Day calls without day. So that's how we end the session in Texas. If you want to have some fun, watch the last 4 hours of the session. It's pretty fun to watch. It's interesting. So just kind of give you a couple of things. If this is going to change, Lieutenant Governor priorities are school choice, as we know, property tax relief, the power grid, border security, housing affordability. This is where my spidey senses get activated. The first thing they did, they went from affordable housing to housing affordability. That's the first thing they did. This is where they're going to start challenging zoning. And this is the area that there will be bills introduced that will guide or give new rules around on how cities and towns and counties can do zoning or not do zoning. The higher education policies, DEI, things like that, and public safety. As you probably know, if you're following politics in Texas, there is a fight over the Speaker of the House. Representative David Cook is the favorite, but there's really no clear path for him yet. So the first day session on January 14th, once they go into session, they open, they do the speaker election, and that will be interesting. But what right now we're guessing is school vouchers, property tax relief, public education, workforce development, border security, housing affordability, and water reuse. And this excludes, now this may change as soon as they get a new speaker, so just kind of generally probably correct, but this is going to change as they get more path to the speaker. So, all right, so next one is just, these are all modules, by the way, so we kind of pick and choose. So politics is a heart of the, well as the mind. Many people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's really true at the local level, and that's really true at the state level. They want you to care first, and they really, you may know everything you want in the world, but you have to care, and that's what they want. So first thing, and I'll do more little detail next slide, is understand the process and respect the protocol. They have a very strict protocol in Austin. We'll talk about it in a minute. Build strong relationships with your state reps, but mainly the staff. You really want to understand, like my big thing is you never make the town secretary or the city secretary mad at you ever. They get things done for you. Don't make your city manager mad at you because they get the thing for you. It's same thing with the state reps staff. They control all the information to the state rep. They have a folder every day during session, and only what's in that binder gets discussed. That's it. If you have a pile here and a pile here, this pile gets discussed. And you want your stuff in the small piles. The way you do that is chief of staff, the ledge director, or their staff. So relationships I form is with the staff first, then the state rep, okay? Focus on local impact. This is storytelling. Why are you there? Like, if you get up there and you guys been through this, if someone gets there and yells at you or tells you you're doing it wrong, they're not gonna listen to you. We'll talk a little bit about that, but focus on why it's important to you, what's the impact, and tell a story, okay? By the way, they have 2 minutes in Austin. Not 3, 2, and maybe 1. So be prepared for that, right? Okay? And then during session, it's like Austin's a bubble. They go into session, there's a bubble. They work 20-hour days, 21-hour days, probably get 2 or 3 hours if they're lucky. Things change on the fly in the middle of the night. Amendments are not real time. So if they have an amendment to a bill, the amendment is not real time. So you don't know. The vote will be over before you know what the amendment really is. So you gotta be flexible and really pay attention online. And I'll talk to Tara about teaching some of the online systems that we have, but just be reactive. I mean, be ready to go and do some things down there. So does that make sense? So nuts and bolts, right? The relevant committees. So every bill is assigned to a committee day 1. That's filed. Then that committee hearing, you would have to find what committee it is, and then use something called MyTLO, and you search what's the bill number and the session number, and it'll give you the bill details, okay? So be very specific about the bills. Prepare your testimony. Understand the bill, read the bill. It's very important. If you get, I'll talk about it a bit, and craft your message. You get 2 to 3 minutes, and they will cut you off. If you yell at them, kind of like what you do here, if you yell at them, you'll get an invite to leave the building.
Escorted.
And Texas DPS may escort you out. Right? They're very professional. They do Robert Rules of Order strictly, straight up Robert Rules of Order. If you're polite, once in a while they'll correct you. Please be polite. Please be professional. But mostly they just ask you to leave, honestly. So just kind of think about that, right? Register to testify. This is interesting. There's kiosk. You go down the annex, right-hand side, left-hand side, there's kiosk. Okay, you go on the kiosk, hit the button, hit start, and you go through the flow of, hey, what committee you wanna testify at? What build? What's the build number you want to testify at? And then you got to put your address and your phone number in. Swear that you're gonna tell the truth. Interesting. Hit that box, and then you get registered. Okay. The chair. And that's on the House side. The Senate side is both. Senate side can be either the kiosk or paper. So sometimes you go to the kiosk and the Senate hearing is not there, go to the committee room, and then you'll see a piece of paper you fill out. The Senate still does paper, and they hand it to the clerk of the court of the committee, and then the clerk goes and hands it to the chair. It is like a city council meeting. It's kind of like the order you sign up in, right? That's not true in Austin. And we'll talk about it in a second. So normally what happens in session, 8 o'clock they start, they're done at 10. They go into session. Mainly they come back at 6, 7, or 8 o'clock at night. And if see how dedicated you really are being there, you can go, I have testified later 3 o'clock in the morning. And there's no food, no coffee, nothing after the Capitol Grill closes. So if you go and testify, be prepared. And we'll talk about why the 8 to 10 in a minute. So the House and the Senate does the same thing, and then you want to stick to your a lot of time. You really, when I go to Austin to testify, I'll mark a bill up and tell them, like this section changed to this. I want this section changed to that. I give them a red line copy, give it to the clerk so they know exactly what you want changed. That works with them, specifically with the local government committee and the Senate side. Senator Bencourt has 0 tolerance for anybody up there yelling, has 0 tolerance for no data. Has 0 tolerance for bad data. Okay, he just doesn't tolerate it, and he'll tell you in uncertain terms that happens, right? So, what he's done for me is maybe much better at testifying. I come with data, I can prove my data, and I have recommendations. And he does listen to recommendations. Okay. The other one you would talk about is we talk about alignment, Filkey recommendations. First thing that happens is they call the meeting order. There's something called lay out the bill on the right-hand side. Okay, so first thing happens is the bill sponsor walks in, lay out the bill, they ask the bill sponsor questions. Okay, that's whatever lasts, right? Then the fun part, invited testimony. First, unlimited time, mainly lobbyist. 99% of the time they are a lobbyist. They could be, and normally handpicked by the committee chair to drive home a certain perspective. dead serious, like Texas Public Policy Foundation, Texas 2036, Texas for Reasonable Solutions or Reasonable Housing. All those, tons of them are down there in Austin that will testify first. You also have something called a resource witness, and that is from the state. So they're talking about financial, they'll come from the comptroller's office. The resource witness is answer a factual question from the state, okay? And they'll say, hey, does any member have a question with the resource witness? And they'll say yes or no. Then the resource witness either will either answer the question or get back to the committee. Makes sense? Kind of like here, you're referred out here and committee comes back to you. Public testimony. So that will take 2 hours, hour and a half. So public testimony includes us, elected officials. They don't want us, I'm telling you what's gonna happen. They're gonna tell you this story. I want you down there. Please come to my office. We'll talk to you. That's true. But the question is, what are they gonna do with the information you give them, right? It's designed for elected officials to wait, and we are part of the public. So I've been moved to the end. We've been moved to the middle. It just, and the chairman basically picks and chooses who he wants to speak. Literally, it's not in order. You can watch him do it. And just pick and choose, and eventually everybody gets to speak. But it's a little frustrating. But the power in Austin is lobbyists. I just want to be very honest with you on that stuff, right? We'll talk about how bill gets committee, but once the bill is committee, a lot of the negotiation is behind the scenes and in the hallways, literally, or in the cafeteria. That's where business gets done, right? And then just want to be, that's why I go down there and don't look. You can go online and listen, but the negotiations are in the lobby, they're in the hallway, they're in the cafeteria. You want to grab the staff member on the way out the door. You want to talk to the state rep, you get a chance like that, right? So just think about those dynamics. And they also will tell you, we have got things changed in there. I mean, some of my council members believe we have no impact on Austin. I disagree with that. We've got some things changed in Austin. If they tell you that the bill has legs, believe them. So Bill 1 through 150 on the House side is Speaker of House's priorities or APA's priorities. HB 2 is always the budget. HB 1 is always the budget. SB 1 is the budget. My guess is HB 2 and SB 2 will be school choice on an emergency bill. Okay. Then 1 through 50 are the Lieutenant Governor's priorities, the top 10, which are ABBA's priorities, and they will pass. Just no fan or buts about it. They're priorities, and they will pass it. So if you want so what they'll tell you is, hey, this has legs, believe them, which means it's going to pass. Then the question becomes, how do you want it changed, right? So last session they had a bill to make an ADU by right in every zoning classification. We all would have to allow people to build little apartments in their backyards. And we couldn't deny that. The council could not deny that. It'd be by right. In fact, you want to go in front of council, it would just go right to whoever the process is approved some here. That lost by 2 votes in the House last time. It's going to pass this time because it's ABBA's priority, right? So just kind of think about that. If you want to change a bill, you can change little things in the bill. You can do a bracket bill, which means you said like a bracket bill is like, I'll give you an example of bracket bill. If there's a county near the Gulf of Mexico that's 1.6 million, which is Galveston County, they'll describe it kind of that way. Or they'll say any city over 1 million will have this restriction, or any county over 500,000. So sometimes to protect smaller cities like Fayette, Rockwall, and this town, is you bracket them out. So make sure it doesn't impact you. Government gets his way, but we get protected. So that's when we do a lot of doing that, right? The committee, like I said before, the invited testimony, they'll ask questions. The invited testimony rarely ask questions of the public. I mean, rarely. They just kind of speed through them. You'll see 1 or 2 members at the hearing. If you're lucky on the committee, they come and go. They'll be in the back eating, drinking while you're out there for coffee, which is fine, but they won't be there. Don't expect the committers will all be there. There's just not going to be. Okay, it's a little frustrating sometimes when you spend all day waiting and they're not there. I get it. They claim they can hear you in the background. So just kind of be prepared for that, right? Now, give your testimony. It doesn't mean you don't want to testify, but just be aware of that. So, and then you can, by the way, you can submit written testimony to the clerk, committee clerk. I have you have one letter in there, I think. There's a format. At least in Fayette, we have a format. you know, very professional, the honorable. I sign it, we always put via emails, very formal letter. I find them to be more professional and they'll take it a little more seriously, especially from an elected, you know, mayor or city council member to do that. So we have a form that we developed and we send it down there and stuff like that, so. All right, so local decision making, my favorite topic. Save Texas. So here's, Save Texas operates on the Dillon rule. So what it basically means is that Dillon rule is you're allowed to do what the state tells you can do. General law, I think Portrait is a general law city, type A. Okay, you're only allowed to do what the state allows you to do, which is very little times, right? City of Fayette is a charter city. We're allowed to do anything we want to do unless exempted from state law. So hence the word preemption or super preemption, okay? The belief in the state legislature right now, I'm not getting into politics, this is what I've been told by many members, is they believe that cities should just have public safety, budgets, roads, water and sewer, and that's it. Zoning, land development should be regulated by the state. I believe I said up there is we're the strongest when we do public safety, zoning, land development, health, and welfare. That's when the cities are at their best, right? And Texas growth is due to the cities. The cities, especially North Texas, Metroplex, you're going to see the growth. The cities are driving the growth of Texas, right? The great economy we have is the cities, right? So kind of think about that. So revenue taxation or limited making depends on property tax, a key source of revenue. Smaller cities, that's true. Fate is trying to change that right now. 23% of our $14 million budget is sales tax filing. So we're making this flip. We're trying to get more sales tax, less property tax. We're trying to get the ratios changed. Because as the governor keeps compressing property taxes, we'll get less of it. We have to have another revenue source, right? On the right-hand side, a couple of things. There's constitutional issues about this. It's in court. City of Fayette actually sued the state of Texas as part of several cities on Bill 2038, which is the ETJ bill, where you can petition out and we can't deny you. We actually are in court. I was told many times, you know, I got cranky with the law firm. We told many times that they're going to go for summary judgment. It'll probably be granted by the district court, and then the AG will appeal to the Texas Supreme Court. Okay. There's a bill been introduced, by the way, by Senator Ben Cordis, says that a city cannot not follow state law unless you have a judicial judgment against it. What's happening is cities are doing a resolution saying that 2030 is unconstitutional. Ben Court wants to outlaw that. So you cannot do that unless a court orders it, right? So kind of think about that, right? So that's an.
Can you say that again? He wants to outlaw what?
So what College Station did, what City of Fayette did, some of the cities passed a resolution saying that SB 2038 from the last session is unconstitutional, right? It's unconstitutional because there's a conflict in law. So law says that it's to exit the ETJ, you must have the city or town approval. 2038 says, no, you automatically can de-annex yourself by petition, conflict of law, right? So we think it's unconstitutional. Bancorp introduced a bill saying you have to follow the law and you can't introduce resolutions to protest something unless you have a court ruling, a district ruling. And that got introduced by Bancorp, which kind of weird. So that probably will not pass. One thing we talk a lot about is one size fits all does not serve us well at all. Portrait, Fayette, Heath, McClendon, Chisholm, Rockwall, Josephine, all are much different cities. And we want them to be different cities, right? We want Fayette to be Fayette, Rockwall to be Rockwall, Portrait to be you. And that's what we should fight for, and that's what I'm fighting for. Unregulated growth will strain infrastructure and increase taxes. There's no if and buts about in my brain that this will be bad. They're pushing debt downward to the cities, and then they're making the citizens vote on it. And it's just getting to, I'm not against it, because in Fayette we have a kind of unwritten rule that any debt goes to voters every time. We don't do COs, we don't go around the voters, we let them vote. But if you start asking for $20 million and $30 million and $50 million, it's hard to get those passed. And maybe not have any more water. Like if we had to have a pump station 3 go in front of the voters for $20 million, then we're just out of water, right? So it's going to get tougher to do that. Big fan of that. I think the voters should vote on them. but there's some difficulties and time to think about. Does that make sense, everybody? Is this kind of how you think about that and which one to fight for? All right, so what's going on? So it is a chatter. So think about this. So first thing they did was they said, okay, we have to have international building codes, right? Every city must follow the same building code no matter what. Because developers went to Austin and said, hey, it's too complicated, too expensive. They said, great, preempted us. Then they said, oh, by the way, you cannot involuntarily annex anybody, right? They took that apart away from us. All right, next thing they did was they went down there and they said, well, you cannot regulate building materials now because, hey, we need common statewide, right? They got burnt by that because we have something called the Jimison Apartments, which are badly built and very unpopular, but there's nothing we can do about it, right? Then they said, well, the plumbing code needs to be standardized and the gas code needs to be standardized, right? So a lot of cities have changed the ordinances to make it a little bit less safe. Less space for the builder, but a little more less safe. Then they said, well, that's not enough. So we want to preempt businesses. So they did a super preemption bill called a Death Star bill, SB 2127, which took 9 codes, the local government code, and moved it to the state. And it was something that we in Fate or Rockwell don't do, but it was aimed at Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Fort Worth, the cities that started doing regulation of gas mowers, or they want the minimum wage to be $15, or they want to put, they call unreasonable regulations on local businesses. What that bill's also in court, right now, in Galveston, outside South Texas. That's probably gonna go to the Supreme Court too. The problem with the 2 lawsuits is they're taking too long. So now the legislature is gonna fix the bills and get government to sign them, and then we'll lose. That's what we're anticipating happening, but never know, right? So that's called a Death Star bill. Another bill, you can't regulate energy sources. State license holder can sue the city, and they're released from the ETJ 2038, okay? So if you look, there's a pattern, right? So the 86th session on, there's this pattern of preempting local government. More and more and more, think about it. So what is next on the list? If you had to think about what's next, it would be zoning, right? It is preemption, super preemption bill, local decision making, housing affordability. These are the trends in the legislature that affect cities. I'm not getting into some of the other bills. Is housing affordability. What they're saying, they want to strengthen personal property rights, identify specific instances of local overregulation to call. That's the Center Bend Court. They want to go through the zoning code and start taking our ability to make decisions away from us. This is going to be the big fight in Texas, right? Afterwards, I can tell you why I think it's happening. I think that there's a message from Abbott on doing that, but he's on board with this right now. And they are told by the developers that the cities are the problem. I told Tara one day that they're telling us that 24% of the house price is regulatory fees. In fact, they're about 12. I can't get to 24%. I just can't get there, right? Texas A&M does a lot of studying for the state. So go online, Texas A&M real estate. They do a lot of studies for the state and kind of on housing affordability. You should read them. But Texas does have a problem, but I'm not sure taking power from local governments is the right answer for that, right? School choice, we all know the fight, right? Right? They say they want to increase the basic allotment to 76.55. That's what Rockwell ISD is recommending to the state. That's going to pass. I would just be stunned if that did not pass. And there's just be some tweaks to the bill, like transparency. There's some comments about taxpayer money to be transparent by it. So private schools have to have the same regulatory or reporting requirements on that. So that's going to pass. AI. We don't have a legal structure in Texas for this. In fact, we have had high school kids do AI images of their girlfriend and post them online and make a new, they basically invented a new picture of them and posted it. We don't have a lot we can do about that. That's going to get changed in the state, and that's a good thing, actually. That's really good. They're going to do it. The policy development and the fake drive images of minors will be tackled, and that's going to be a priority for Abbott. I'm really sure about that. Infrastructure funds, water, energy, and broadband. They're going to address the future needs of it. Right now, they're all about $1 billion each. Sid Miller, the agriculture secretary, is saying that Texas has a water problem. We all agree on that? They have a water problem. Question, what do they do next? They want to do the reuse, and I told our state rep and both of them that, okay, let's have a real conversation about reuse, right? If you think about what reuse would be no lawns, you know, desert kind of environment. You can't water your lawn at all, or maybe certain days of the week. There's some serious water restrictions coming to Texas. And so it's got to think about that, how the state plays in that. I think they will take action and start doing some things like that. Elected officials.
Doing is it also doing the no property taxes in the next?
Yeah, there's some movement going on property taxes. Okay, we hit that real quick, but property taxes, there's this theory we can eliminate all property taxes. Okay, so the state resource said that was $81 billion hole in the budget. Okay, now since the state doesn't collect, you know, taxes except for sales tax, how are you gonna make up 81 billion sales tax? They're estimating 33% sales tax in Texas right now to cover that. Now, so this is a talking point, right? So let's kind of break that down a little bit. The state was trying to scare them away, like, don't do this, right? What I think they're going to do on property taxes, they're going to take M&O property taxes from the school district and give it to the state. And the state will fund school districts from the allocations, so there'll be no property tax for school districts. And then the INS portion of the school district will stay with the local school district, and the property tax would just be for that part of it. So that'll probably cut 30–40% of people's property taxes. But now you're dependent, remember, schools will be dependent upon the success of sales tax in Texas. If we go into recession as predicted, then what are you going to do, right? There's some dilemmas coming up. So I don't solely see property tax going away. I do see adjustments in it in this session. So, all right, ETJ reform, we talked about this before. That's in court. I think this will stick around. I don't think they're going to get rid of it. We'll have to deal with it. I have a theory of what we would do. If the court rules against us, I think cities have big decisions to make. Do you just divest of the ETJ completely? Just let it go? Or you fight it, or you try to get the state to eliminate it? It's just a lot of dilemmas, so just kind of think about what you want to do. My favorite topic, mud reform. All right, so there's two paths, right? Right. Path one, you guys are going through TCQ processes. I'm sure you love that. They're horrible. That's one path of new muds being built. Path B is existing muds. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So path A, the mayors in Rockwell County signed a letter to Resident-elect Katrina Pearson, asked them to ban all new muds. Hard to do, by the way, in Central Texas or East Texas or West Texas in the Panhandle, because they need muds for economic development. Okay. Like in Fayette, all of this growth is coming to us. There, that's not. So that's a difficulty there. So one thing we want to prevent new muds. We have sent, and I can send this to you guys too, we have sent a long list of TCQ checklist changes. We want real, like you're saying, the tanks being inspected on time. Like contaminated soil being, no, you can't have the mud there. We want engineering studies, we want water studies, we want sewer studies, we want the impact on the city, right? We want fees to be charged by a city to a mud if you're right outside the district, right? That's one thing. There's two things we've done. We talked about mandatory city and county approvals. Senator Hall, my senator, he enters a bill, we get notified within 30 days, and we can write a protest. I think, I looked up Representative Bell's bill.
SB 102.
Yeah, SB 102. Read it. It's, you can say if you want to.
Well, it basically mandates that the municipal utility district has to notify the county. That's it.
Yeah, and you have 30 days of protest, but that's it.
Like,
Yeah,
it's,
that's-
I mean, I guess it's, I had actually sent it to Judge Stovall in Hunt County because they weren't notified
Yeah,
when we
yeah,
heard
I
about
know.
ours. I mean, so he did get notified, but it wasn't from them, but it doesn't really have
Yeah,
any teeth. I mean,
exactly.
it was-
So we'll work
got
on that a
notified.
little bit. The next one introduces CityPack and EMS fees. So here's what's being proposed on that. If you let's say ETJ, we lose ETJ battle, and the mud sits right outside your city limits, right? Right now you have to provide them maybe EMS services or fire and police services, right? They're also gonna use your roads, but there's no property tax from them to cover all those expenses. So we're looking for regulatory authority to basically charge the mud board all the city service expenses that a city or town would incur. Make sense? So right now, we're thinking like $100 per home to cover it, right? So here's what's interesting. Some existing mud homeowners are now complaining about noise, barking dogs, abandoned cars, normal city stuff, right? Like local government, too many goats, whatever. Like just kind of cool local government stuff we deal with every day, right? They have no authority to create an ordinance against that. City has no authority to go and enforce them. So if you think about a mud, and you think about a quality of life, you think about how I want a great place to live, that's not gonna last long there. And then I think we all know what happens when neighborhoods deteriorate, right? Nothing good happens next out of that. So we're trying to get that introduced. It's gonna be like a bundle, probably, but we really wanna get the state legislature. I got a big debate with Senator Ben Court real late one night over this. What they want to do, so you guys know, is don't make money off of it. I got them to understand that we need these, unless you want to raise taxes on all of us and more debt locally, but we need the fees. So in the city of Fate, 70% of our road improvements are done by developers and 30% by us. And if you take people behind me right now, they would probably tell you, if we moved all that citizens, you'll always say no, right? Let the developers pay for part of that, right? So it's really important that we keep that, but we also have the ability to expand it to services. Impact fees are infrastructure only. Capital expenses, we gotta change the definition to a service, which would be EMS, fire, police, water, sewer. Makes sense? That's what we're trying to do. Big ask, we had to do it.
So are you saying your muds right now cover your road?
Our muds and fade are in the city limits, so we have to cover them. The 17 muds being developed outside the city of Josephine, right on the city limits, that's where the stories are coming from now, right? And then I told the state was this story. Do you want private cities or not?
Do you want
Literally.
what?
A private city. So what a mud board is gonna do, which there's one woman developed out there is gonna do, fine, we'll do it ourselves. We'll have our own fire, police, first responders, water, sewer, all that stuff ourselves. But we're gonna make you give us priority on the water. So anybody entitled before you doesn't have the ability to, you're gonna jump the line. Right, and that's gonna cause, it's gonna cause more water problems, right? And it's already starting to happen. North Texas Water District is rationing connections, by the way, right now. They're starting to. So this is a big deal on how we handle fees, where they at, and then the transparency part. A mud board, and you have to agree on the assumption here. The assumption is a mud board imposes a tax. We all agree on that?
It's very high.
Very much a tax. I got the state to think, yes, that's a tax, and it's on your property tax. City of Fate is the second highest. It's 3 times our city tax. Our muds are 75 cents, we're at 25, right? And it's a big burn on taxpayers, right? You can reduce school taxes all day long, but mud taxes have to go down. We have to deal with the tax, that part. They have no transparency requirements. They're not required to meet in the city where they impose a tax. It's like City of Fate having a city council meeting in Rockwall. Think how fast we would get in trouble, right? But they do it all the time, and and that just drives me nuts. They have other categories. If you try to put in your budget in other categories, we don't do that. People get upset, like, what's other? Like, what do you mean, what's other? Where's your money going? They don't have to account for it.
Yeah, it's like a city within a city, but they don't have to play by the same
Correct.
rules.
And we're trying to change that. The other thing they do is my favorite story is, takes one vote and a trailer to authorize hundreds of millions of dollars or $1.3 billion in Josephine, outside Josephine, for mud debt. So think about this. They were back of a pickup truck on a piece of land, no election judge, no monitoring, no poll workers, just this guy in a box. One vote came in, no location, here's voting, vote here. In fact, one location never showed up at all, and they identified at least 3 to 4 election code violations, and we need the AG the power to investigate this right now. He doesn't have the power to investigate these issues. These are not going to touch it. We need power to make sure that what we asked Senator Hall to do is say one voter cannot create $400 million or $1.3 billion of local debt. for the next 2,000 taxpayers. That's just
It's not right.
That's just right, it's just
It's just
wrong,
not
right?
right.
So we're trying to get them to have an election. Maybe you have to build 100 houses or what that number is. We don't, I propose 100, so 100 residents in there, then you have an election, and the residents, 100 residents can decide if they want to authorize the debt or not. Well, they're gonna have to front some of the, for sure, some themselves, yeah.
But
Yeah.
to your point, the lobbyists, D.R. Horton, are the ones that's
yeah.
generating the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm not disagreeing. It gets a battle, but I still think it's a battle we can fight because they're starting to catch on. And that's our problem. It's slow but surely they're starting to catch on. But just kind of explain what we're trying to get done here. Now we want a voter approval of secondary debt. This is getting really controversial, which I thought was really easy. Now the money attorneys are really mad about this one. So what we're trying to do is say this. Let's say the first month election authorized $800 million in local and debt, okay? And they issue the debt over, let's say, 10 years or something, or 15 years. We're not saying the $800 million has to be reauthorized. We're not saying that. We're saying that if you want to go above $800 million, let's say you want to add $200 million to that, that needs approval by the Med District, the voters there, right? If you're going to make the cities have voter approval for debt, so should the MUDs, right? MUD attorneys do not like that idea, by the way, at all. I met with them, they went, that was just a really bad conversation. Okay, request for city, it was just really bad. I just gave up about 10 minutes. Yeah, request for the city stuff, we just talked about that, that's a big deal. Josephine's going through it right now, Fate's about to go through it, and Rockwall, you guys may be, that might approve. Interlocal agreements, how you provide fire protection, do you want to do fire protection for them? Mutual aid agreements, you'll have to make some decisions around that. McKinney decided not to support the MUDs at all. They won't take a fire or police call there, but every city's going to approach it differently a little bit, and that's kind of how that works. Next one is economic development tool. For you guys, it's probably not a big deal yet, but Fate it is. 380 agreements and 303 agreements. They're after them. We talked about school taxes real quick. Homestead exemption may go up to 160,000-ish. We'll see. Okay, and then I talked about the sales tax. City expense caps. I don't know if you adhere to them. We have caps of 3.5% for Fate. That's a really big deal. They want to reduce that to 0. What they're saying is that if you're $1 over the budget from last year, you get to have an election. Just $1. So we're fighting to keep it at 3.5%. It did. The state got really good data on that. Did property taxes go down? It did. Makes city get a little more better at budgeting and what they want. So there's a good desired effect, but going to 0 would be really hard at that, right?
They require that at the counties.
Well, I wanted to start the state. Yeah, the old, reduce your budget, and we'll talk, right? Okay, the last one is, this is a big deal too. Do you have impact fees here? Okay, one day you will. They want you to recover the cost of impact fees, just the cost, right? Some cities in Texas recover more than the cost, they kind of make money off it. Fate, we do not do that. We have University of Texas Dallas who does a study for us to make sure we don't, but that's a big deal in Texas. As you think about property, like on impact fees on roads, you get bigger and bigger. The residents, I'm sure, will say, hey, they've always got to pay part of this. In Fate, they pay for the roads, water, and sewer, about $2,000 a house, give or take some. Okay, makes sense? Okay, and the last one real quick is the process, real quick. So somebody gets an idea, they draft the bill, goes to Ledge Council, and sits there for a month. The bill gets filed in TLO system, and my TLO is online. It goes to Senate or House committee for consideration. Then the chairman gets involved, right? The chairman decides when a bill gets a hearing or not. Not all bills get a hearing, very few do. Only about 12% of the bills pass in Texas right now. The process is designed not to pass a bill. It's absolutely designed that way. If the bill does not get a hearing, it dies. It just goes away. It will never come. It may come back next session, but it normally dies. If the bill gets a hearing, then the chairman decides if there's a vote. So think about this, right? Like, let's say tonight you consider something, but you never vote on it, right? That's what they do. They have a committee hearing. That's okay. We'll suspend the rules and we'll just postpone it, and then it never comes back for a vote ever. The Republicans are trying to change that rule, by the way, right now, to where if you have to have a committee vote if you have a committee hearing, right? They're trying to change those rules. Okay, so let's say it does get a hearing and they do vote, right? Then it goes to calendars. If you've been paying attention to calendars, is where bills go to die. So calendars, calendars, design of the calendars committee is to sign a date for the floor debate, right? That's highly political, and only certain things get off the floor. Like I said before, if Lieutenant Governor wants something, it gets out of the intent calendar. If the Speaker of the House wants something, it gets out of the calendar. It's just the way it works. A lot of good bills have died in calendars, by the way. They're trying to change that too. They're saying, look, if a bill gets passed by committee, it should have a floor vote. I think we all would agree that, we have to, city council have to vote on everything. We don't have a choice with voting that, but we have to vote. State legislature does not have to vote. And time the board votes for lots of reasons, but it's just the way it works. On the Senate side is the intent calendar, same way. You can get caught up there, but the Lieutenant Governor runs a strict Senate, very strict, so their stuff gets through pretty quickly. If it gets into the intent calendar, normally they have a floor vote. Once it's approved, it goes to then it goes to the other side, right? So the Senate approves it, goes to the House, and goes back to the committee again, and kind of just go back and forth. The floor chart, I took it out because it was just a long flow chart. Maybe not going through that. And if it passes, then governor can sign it. There's a couple of ways of building in law. One, it could be effective immediately. School choice will be done, I believe. So I will immediately sign it, or it will be effective September 30th, or effective January 1st. So like we have a bunch of bills going like January 1st going to effect, or September 30th, or immediate. Normally the emergency bills are the immediate bills, right? So, and actually that's kind of like a really quick synopsis of the issues and the 10 minutes. I don't know if you have questions for me. I'm sorry I didn't go too fast, but I was limited by your mayor.
That 15, 20 minutes went long, did it? Thank you so much. Thank you. No, it was very, very informative. So appreciate you giving us that synopsis.
A little depressing too.
Yes. So here's my story. So I go to Austin, I see them Texas flag, I walk and I have all kind of hope, right? This is the day we can make change, right? And then he sucked the soul out of me, and I walk, I go home. I felt walk, I was so depressed. So. Anyway, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Tara, and I'll be more happy to answer your questions for you guys. So.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. We appreciate you informing us. It's very illuminating. All right.
We have a lot of work ahead of us.
Yes.
Make any changes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, yes. So the time is 7:39. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Yeah, that was depressing.
Yeah. Hey, that's all I know is true.
I'm gonna have a cookie. That'll make it better.
I need 2 cookies now.
Yeah. Yes.
It worked.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm gonna have 2 cookies be done.
Yeah. So how many times have you gone down there?
Since 86 sessions, I go, last year I went about 10 times.
Holy smokes.
Well, they only meet once a year, so
Yeah, but
what are they doing in the meantime?
They do, they meet once every 2 years.
Oh,
Every other year, and I go to the committee hearing, so I'll pick out, let's say 5 or 10 bills I really hate, and then I'll try the committee hearing, and I'll go down for them. Sometimes I get lucky, they'll have like committee hearing like the same day, so I can jump hearings, that's happened to me. And then you pray to God the other hearing doesn't skip your name. And then toward the end of session, it just depends. Sometimes it gets on the floor, it's just out of your control. I've gone down there once to debate before, and text my state rep before on the floor, done that. But we're really trying to get ahead of the curve on the committee hearing. We're trying to get the bill changed before it gets to committee. So we really, like, I'll identify a bunch of bills, and then like, SB 102, we'll try to get changed, we'll send it off, get new bills introduced. And then that way, before it gets changed, before it gets to committee. Let's say you go to the committee hearing, you convince them to do something different. They're gonna say, oh, great idea, Mayor, but call the sponsor of the bill and see if he'll do it. They put you back to the process again.
so when you say they put you on the calendar, maybe, is that what, they'll also do that throughout the 2 years, like, so the calendar might be,
Yeah.
you're not having to wait for a session?
Right, so what happens, you really wanna get involved, the interim hearings are where all the action
Oh,
is.
brother.
Okay.
Like we did all the interim, we just had them, those are the rest of the action. If you go online to the local government committee and read the recommendations, just read the recommendation page, those will become bills, like never some time. So you can change their rules during the interim hearing, because there's no speaking rule,
cause I watched a few of them and it's like, wow.
And,
Really, 1 minute, you try them all for
So
4
you,
hours?
you
and
asked me
get
one
1
day,
minute,
you
huh?
have to test, I go, oh yeah, I'm saying, it's normally 2 minutes, you look at the bottom of the agenda, it's 2 or 3 minutes, rarely 3. Let's say, for example, school choice will have hundreds of people testify, I mean, it just will. They'll be there all night, they'll probably limit to that. And they'll just cut you off, they'll keep on going, and this is a plow through the public comment section, right? So, the interim hearings is where you can talk to them, like I've done this before, and try to talk to them always, be things during it.
Oh, yeah.
Now the bill that will be filed, now we gotta fight them. By the way, last time I went to interim hearing, there was 30 lobbyists.
30 lobbyists, and they were all like builders?
Yeah, depends, it will be, so it's think tanks, right? Texas Public Policy Foundation, Texas for Regional Solutions, Texas Farmer Association, Texas Home Builders Association, Texas whatever. There's tons of them out there, and then all the builders will have their own people, attorneys attend, me, and then they will have activists who are down there who also get their way, by the way. A lot of activists who want to get rid of city government. They never say no, they're just trying to get rid of city government, that's their goal. And they'll testify too.
Who do they think's gonna have the police departments and take
This
care
is
of
what
it?
we're trying to remind them of. Like for example, let's get rid of TML, right? The lobbyists go, great, how are you gonna pay for the police lawsuits? Who's paying for that? Who's gonna pay for all the risk pool? Who's pay their insurance, right? It's just not that simple. So we try to educate them on, hey, if you want, like they said, tax credit for the lobbyist evil. Really? So I'll give you an example of that. $950 million was spent during the 88th session against the cities. $1 billion lobbying, whole party votes, just whole party right now. City spent about $22 million. And we lose. And the reason why they don't get rid of us down there, our help, is we win. We do get the exchange down there, but we have, Faith has a consulting firm that we use down there. One day you get from me comes from them. If I said Intel says, that's the code word for that. I'll say Intel says, that's kind of a lobby. I mean, they're lobbyists, but they don't lobby on our behalf. But they give us a lot of intel on what committee courts are going to, where's the bill, what's going to happen to the bill. We'll get committee, they'll help us get bill into committee that we want. They'll do stuff with mechanics of. We want to ban all that.
There needs to be a balance, I mean, there's definitely needs to be a balance, there are overbearing cities,
They're still doing bad things. I
but
mean,
then,
trust me.
but then there's also a need for.
Right.
So there's a balance.
They're still doing bad things. I mean, I can't, like, I was told, you know, like, why do cities do this? Why do cities do this, David? Like, I can't defend bad cities. There's bad cities out there doing bad things.
So do you ever go down there like with, in like a group with other,
This sure.
does that help at all?
So this will be this first year, and Karen knows this, that we ever got a Rockwell County mayor, anybody, even a sliver, we get all the mayors together and we're gonna try to do it together this time. Instead of me going down there and be this, you know, doing it.
Against all the lobbyists?
Yeah, we're trying to get a lot of people to go, and we're gonna try to organize a trip. We're trying to, the first time we ever tried to do this, we're also gonna create a PAC.
Yes, yeah.
It's
we're-
needed.
Yeah, we're gonna create a PAC, and we run like the Republican consultant that lives in Rockwell, she's really, really good. She's probably going to help run the PAC, and that's gonna help us do research. Like primary research, so we can make our city, there's not a pro-city PAC in the state of Texas.
And that should, I wish it had been 10 years ago, you know, that we
Right.
had one,
We
but
should
better,
have.
better late than
Yeah,
never.
better than never, and then we finally, so we're gonna call, I think it's called Rockwell Strong or something, I don't know, we'll figure something out. Better name.
Oh,
it.
yeah,
David,
it's probably on
thank you
there.
so much, we're gonna have to
Okay,
continue,
guys,
we're already running late, but,
Thank you so much, it was wonderful meeting you.
Absolutely, nice to meet you guys, thank you.
Yeah.
thank you.
You want another?
All right, the time is 7:46, we're gonna resume our meeting. All right, so moving on to item number 3, approving the Burkhart, Hendricks, and Carter Professional Engineers invoice for $475 and discuss update on project on task 104 from MAPI. So this one is $475, obviously they just spent 5 hours in the month of, October 28th through November 24th. I did get a preliminary email from them and we'll present it next meeting. They're hoping to finish it up, so that's good. Well, before the end of the year.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll hear about it in the
Okay.
January meeting. Okay, do we have a motion?
So we have an engineer intern working on this? I
Well,
think that was kind of our problems in the beginning, wasn't it? I thought we was pretty clear on, who was gonna
Yeah, I'm not sure why they had an engineering intern. Did they reach out to you since you and Anderson at all?
No.
Yeah, I didn't hear from them either, so that was kinda interesting.
Okay.
Is that worth a follow-up?
I don't know. I mean, that was the problems with all the other maps, or the finger that they pointed.
Yeah.
And then they put their engineer, I don't know his position, Chase, he was gonna head it up.
And and they were supposed to put their senior
That's right.
person on that.
That's right.
But maybe
partner.
they had them do
Yeah.
something that was
They could just be-
trivial or
anyway.
something, I don't know.
So I'll make a motion, we accept it.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? And that passes five. All right. Number 4, discuss Hunt County project sheet H18 for 12 Town of Poetry roads. So, I spent about 6 hours painting, the roadways because Kevin Cook asked me to. He said, look, they have a kind of a new process. They discovered after the first year that they could make a few miles of road look fabulous, but then the other hundreds of miles of road they had left was getting neglected. So they're doing this maintainer. They have a road maintainer, so they can use like kind of swatches, like you saw that there's on sections on 2458, and then also 2326 had one, like, I don't know, 100 yards or something. And it does the job. It's not most beautiful, but it makes it functional.
Way
And
better.
It's way better. It's way better. And so that's what his new strategy going forward is, and that's why he wanted me to go ahead, and his assistant Kevin Cook wanted me to go ahead and like, hey, paint the area. I don't know what areas you want. So I tried to focus on the ones that were the, 2326 and then 2432, 2434. So, but sadly, Commissioner Monroe got sick and they weren't able to finish for me. So
So we don't know the budget.
I don't have any amount for us tonight.
Okay.
Sorry about that. They were gonna try and get it to me, they said on Monday, and then they said no Wednesday, and then they apparently got sick and it didn't happen.
So, since we're not voting on this, is it worth having a discussion about trimming the roads with that brush hog that everybody hates? I've noticed these roads are really closed in, and what happens now is all those leaves fall straight down into the ditches, then the water stands on the edge of the road. So, is that something we can discuss with them now?
They've already trimmed up quite a bit. We had I know now not all the roads, but yeah, remember we had.
We had a few.
We
Yeah,
had,
two roads they
we
went
had
down,
two
two main
roads,
roads.
so if you'll email me which roads or
Specific.
which roads specifically, and we can put it on a project sheet, absolutely, we
Okay.
can bring it back for next month, yep. All right, moving on to number 5, discuss recent website posting of lawsuit, quote, order of dismissal, and discuss intended uses of the town's website. This is brought by Councilmember Fowler and Councilmember Blake. I received an email, I guess Councilmember Fowler was asking me to, take it down.
Yes.
So, take it down immediately, should be removed from the website immediately. Do you wanna do the rationale?
Yeah, so I think everybody on this board is familiar with the email that we received from the citizen, and when I seen it, I agreed with him. I thought it was a very unprofessional post, and the fact that it says the appeal means that the town of Portrait and citizens of Portrait would face additional legal fees. I just don't think, I think we have a level of professionalism that the bar set pretty high. This is not private sector, this is government sector. The strict dismissal of the case is dismissed. I think that's great news for the city. Hooray, let's all celebrate. I think this is the area that the citizen really had a conflict with, and when I read it, I read it the same way. I just don't think that needs to be in there. So I did email Tara and ask that it be removed immediately from the website. I think you could see this as inciting. I wouldn't say violent. I did say violence, inciting unrest. There's just no reason to fearmonger people to say, hey, if they appeal, it's going to cost y'all more money, and here's the people that's doing it. I don't see that.
So,
Well,
you don't think there should be, full disclosure and transparency?
This is not full disclosure.
Well, yeah, it is.
No, this is
Now,
a
I was
passive-aggressive
requested-
attempt at
no,
full
I was
disclosure.
requested by 2 council members.
Okay,
They
who was
requested
those two?
nothing.
Well,
Who was
I
those
was
two?
one of them.
Councilmember Blake and Councilmember Ashton.
Yeah.
passed via
You were-
text
you were the other
that
one?
Tuesday.
Yes, and I'll tell you, that it's your opinion. and
It
you're
is
entitled
my
to your
opinion.
I'll tell you, I don't agree with it at all.
And that's okay.
That's important information that people need to know.
So,
It is the
so the
people's
first, the people have the right to sue this city.
Correct.
And we can't take that away.
That's right.
And we can't fearmonger people into saying, it's gonna cost y'all taxpayers dollars every time someone sues. We're gonna get sued again in our history, guys.
Well, that's not, the intent is to inform. And if they do appeal, if somebody went to this for the first time and didn't know what the lawsuit was about, that information told you who was the plaintiff,
That's
who was
fine.
the defendant.
That's fine.
And what would happen if there is an appeal. A lot of people know the legal system, and it's just facts.
So y'all two feel, and this is y'all's opinion, that specific verbiage needs to be in this public notification.
Absolutely. It's important information that people need to know.
Well,
Now,
what
there's
other
one
important
person or
information
two
do we leave
people
out
that
then?
don't- Wait a minute, I'm talking now.
Okay.
That don't like it, but there's 2,000 people in this town, at least.
I agree.
And the other 2,000 people, they deserve, because I get asked questions.
Okay.
And so they deserve to know what's going on. Rather than us repeat it, it's here.
Okay,
So it
so,
was kind of preemptive to do that announcement and to put the
well, then we
actual-
left preemptions out then. The other preemptions are, this goes to appellate court, this gets kicked to another court, and now it costs us hundreds of thousands of dollars
Terry,
in a
you're
lawsuit. We
interrupting.
forgot that.
Let him finish talking, and then you can
We're
talk.
following up on the
Okay,
presumption.
okay.
Well,
Let's let Blake talk.
the reason I say it's preemptive is a lot of people are gonna wanna know, and they're gonna wanna have the information. That's why I
Know
wanted to
what?
know what the case was.
Okay?
That is one reason that I felt like having the actual document posted so that they wouldn't have to have,
Go search for it. That's
go search
correct.
for it, is to have all the information there. It's so that they're not overwhelming the secretaries with what's going on. I want this released. I want to see what it is. There's no reason not to put it out there. And that was the intent behind it, was to put,
Okay.
it's important information.
So that's important, I agree. You want people to know.
Yeah. and-
But let's tell them everything. What happens if it gets, what happens when it gets, well, we want to be preemptive, right? We want to be transparent, right?
And if they
So
appeal it,
what's the next step? So the appellate court can do what with it? They can dismiss it and say it's lacking evidence, it's lacking jurisdiction, it's lacking a lot of things. Or they can say, yeah, it's a good lawsuit, we're gonna kick it to another court.
that's true.
Do we need to tell people that, hey, this lawsuit is still active and could cost the town money?
So this
Well,
law,
and I think we should because, we've all gotten the email, and I don't know if we can, is it a point of order if I talk about the appeal email that?
No, because I think it goes along with my point in this email. We received a very professional notification from our attorney that could have
Yeah.
been inputted right here. He didn't take these steps.
well, he said the same verbiage.
He didn't say this.
So no, he said it is a victory for the town.
It is.
All right, so the people who have paid for this, the townspeople, it is people's
Everybody.
money.
Everybody.
Everybody's paid for that. They have a right to know.
They do.
Now,
They do.
now,
Where
I
did he
wonder-
say
here's the
this,
thing.
though?
No, please
Where did he
don't
say that?
interrupt.
You said he said
Please
it.
don't.
Where did he say it?
On email, he said it is a victory for the town. We have would you stop interrupting me, please? We have an attorney who did an excellent job.
He did
No,
exactly.
stop.
He did exactly what he said he's gonna do. He did
You're-
exactly
you're
what he said he's
out of
gonna do.
order. Please don't
Congratulations.
interrupt me anymore.
Keep going.
Okay, thank you. So our attorney did an absolutely fabulous job representing the town of Poetry and all of us and we pay him, the townspeople pay him to do that job. He did an excellent job. It was a victory. He did email that in his own verbiage. It is a victory for the town. Why can we not? And I think that perhaps, is it possible that the very fact that your wife and your father-in-law were sitting next to the plaintiff against the town, it has you biased?
What side was you sitting on, Tara?
I was sitting.
What side was you sitting on, Tara?
Okay, idiots. Point of order.
What side was you sitting on? Because I want to bring this up. This is all in emails. This is all public knowledge now.
So
What side did you sit on?
We had a dozen people sitting.
Plaintiff side, defendant side.
There wasn't.
There was. There's two sides. There's two sides in the courtroom.
Point of order, this
This
doesn't
is
have
really
to
off
do
topic.
with
No,
the
she
topic.
took it to the
All right.
bias of
right.
me.
Whoever brought this up,
Point of order.
it's not
Point of
really
order.
pertinent.
Okay.
Okay, so the fact is, it was up for 7 days. The people have a right to know. In full transparency, they have a right to know. So I just think that they have a right to know, and I was requested by 2 council members. That aside, the citizen who complained about it was one that has been thrown over a meeting 3 times. So, you know what, she has an opinion, but we overruled that opinion, and that's our right.
Okay.
Mr.
I'm not
Clerk,
done.
Are you seeking changes to what's written up there right now? Or
Well,
I see
it's
your
done.
name's
Christmas
listed
lights
on
It's
it,
gone.
program is
so-
on there
Well,
now.
well, I thought it was worth discussing is why.
That's right.
I think,
got you.
you
He
know, I think-
supported me discussing it.
And I think that we ought to maybe have the attorney prepare the public notice.
He pretty much hand wrote and delivered
I
it
know,
to us,
but-
guys.
but let's
I want to address that though.
But have it as
There's
a-
a misconception that has been stated by Tara, said that he said this. He did not say this, guys. He said it was a huge victory. This is added by us, the town. His statement could have been posted online and everything would have been
So
great.
is there anything untrue with that notice?
Well,
It's not about being untrue. It's a level of professionalism.
No, it actually happened. The appeal has been filed, and that's true.
I didn't say it was untruthful.
Okay, it's truth. It's
We're
already
talking about a
happened.
level of professional that I
No,
expect
you know
out of
what?
this
You're
town.
a professional I have issue with.
Well,
I feel like you're
I have
being
an issue with you
unprofessional.
calling me I'm
You
biased.
are biased.
I am not biased.
well,
Well-
to be honest, you even your own emails say we're all biased. I mean, you.
I'm not biased on this.
I know, but we all have
We're-
biases.
Well, because we all have different effects on us.
That's right. But I still say that there's nothing untruthful about that. And what
I didn't say it was untruthful.
and the way it was worded is what I got from all the meetings I've had with the attorney and his emails and understanding the process. He kind of told us how it would go. And he told us what we needed to prepare for to spend. And so this is just telling the public this in fact is what happened. And it has happened. And I think that's another thing we should post out there now.
We didn't go to the town and tell them everything that the attorney told us was going to happen throughout this case.
No, wait a minute.
No, but
What?
I'm talking about in general. And I think that it's a reasonable for the other 2,000.
Well, look, I've been involved in a lot of lawsuits. We have no idea what these costs are gonna be. There's no way you would know, because once they start going into appeals, a lot of other things can happen, and they can go to the next level of appeal. They can go all the way to the Supreme Court. We have no way of knowing. It could be a very expensive thing, or it could be something that the appeals court says, okay, I looked at the two briefs and we're not gonna go any further, and that's it. Then we're paying only for our lawyers to file the brief. But we don't know that.
Yeah.
We have no idea how expensive this is gonna be, and that's the reason I was in favor of saying, let people know, we don't know what this costs are gonna be.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
And
right.
that's-
And we all,
Okay.
and I respect that, Tom. I've never said I didn't.
Well,
I
the
have
demand to be
a,
taken, that was their wording.
okay, and this
The
is why,
demand
Tara.
to be taken down.
This is why, because exactly where you took this email. You made it
No, you
personal.
did.
No,
You
I
did
didn't
say-
tell you. I
you know
didn't
what?
tell you who
We're
the
gonna
citizens'
move on.
name were.
We're gonna move
Another
on.
point of order?
This speaks of the unprofessionalism.
No, I
You
think-
make my
I think-
point.
no,
Thank
well,
you.
it's a
I
very-
might make the
yeah.
point that it's not a private thing. This is public. If
It
it's
is
a public lawsuit where their names are accessible to the public.
No, I'm not
anyways,
talking about their names. I'm talking about, I did not tell Tara who made the complaint. And then she turned the emails around and wanted to disparage the citizen. That is the underlying issue.
Well, that's not what we're talking
No,
about.
no,
though.
no, 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 no.
No, but it's the genesis.
No, it isn't. That
It
has
is the
nothing to do
genesis.
with these words here, strictly to inform the town.
That's all we
This
wanted to
could be
do.
a very expensive process going forward.
Sure,
Yeah.
good.
And that's all it's about.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with retribution.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
I've never seen another city post a message like this.
I haven't ever looked.
Okay.
I haven't ever looked
Yeah,
either.
'cause there's a
because
bar
the
that's that.
citizens have a right to know.
They do.
But-
I'm not saying they don't. I'm the
All
biggest
right, well,
advocate of that.
We can talk about this later.
Can we?
Well,
When can we talk about this later, Tara?
After the meeting.
Well, I'll say this, in terms of, we're finishing up an audit. I mean, I've been involved in this from the private, or from the company side. They're required to make statements like this, that this could be a very expensive thing. If you're a private company, you have to do that.
Yeah.
And then
There's
we're
nothing wrong
audited,
with our notice.
and we're audited.
There's nothing
So-
legally wrong with the notice. I will
There's-
agree.
There is
I
nothing
disagree
wrong-
that it's
Okay,
professional.
you're
Unprofessional.
entitled to your
I am,
opinion.
and I'm
You're
making that
one
known.
council member.
Well,
I'm making
That's
that known.
it. And let it be known.
then
Let it
then
be.
going
For
forward,
transparency.
then going
No,
forward.
see, quit twisting the words and being
No,
passive
you know what
aggressive.
it is?
I disagree with this fear mongering message.
It is
Period.
not fear-mongering. It is true.
All I want to do is resolve it. Can going forward, can we have Attorney Merriman, when we have updates in the case, write our public little notice for us? I mean, a lot of it's like the email he sent us. It's really long. It's long for a pop-up, but would that be a satisfying thing if we had somebody that's a professional at releasing information, and he knows what we can release, so we don't have to clear anything. Is it worth spending the money to say, will you write our pop-up for us?
He had nothing, there was nothing legally wrong with our
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying, going forward, can we do better? Is that doing better if we have him?
That's the attitude I'm looking for, Jonathan. Can we do better?
Is that, I mean, if, as long as we're meeting, we want to be transparent, and he can distill the facts out there. I just don't want to put his long emails out there,
We can.
you know, so, but if he drafts something, or is that an acceptable thing?
I have no problem. I mean, that's not the point we're talking about here.
I don't think.
Point
it
here
is.
is this
No, I
a
don't think
problem? And
It's
my
moving
answer is
forward.
absolutely not, in my opinion.
Well-
It's required.
Well, but I'm trying to cover the intended use, to make sure that we're.
If the attorney had written that very notice, would you have had a problem with it?
Well,
I would have emailed him and had the same discussion with him.
Okay, well,
Okay.
then you have a problem with all the professionals.
No, that's not right.
So, anyway.
Why do you insist on the digs, Tara? It
Because
shows your unprofessionalism.
I know,
It does.
Gary, I'm just-
It
I've
is.
been through
It
my
is.
years, I'm
It is
just-
unbelievable.
I'd like to hear from Councilman Anderson, please.
okay, yeah, I have no problem with asking Mr. Berman about this. On the other hand, I have no problem with stating what any company would have to state.
Yeah.
If they're sued and it's unknown cost, their auditors require them to state that. And would be surprised if our auditor didn't require us to state it.
No, they ask us if
So
we have
I have no
lawsuits.
problem with it like it is, but I have no problem with asking and paying another fee
Yeah.
to our lawyer
Yeah.
to.
I just
spend
want
it-
to stop this.
Yeah,
You're not
I
going
understand.
to. You
So
know.
You're not going to.
I have no problem. We will have to pay for it.
Yeah, I don't mind, that's me. Do we need to have a motion to have him pay for it, or is that just something we can agree to?
Well, this is how we discuss the intended uses of the town's
That's what I'm
website.
saying. I wanna-
It's 100% online with what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. That's why I wanted to talk about
Yeah.
going forward. Can we just, we've had email from him. We need to post the update in the case.
Well, I'd put it another way, say, if you're a private company, if we were, then we would have this statement and we would ask the town lawyer to review it.
That's right.
And say, is it any problem, rather than ask the lawyer to write
Write it.
something.
Okay, that's
Well,
fine.
we already did that in this case. There was nothing
Exactly.
legally wrong with it.
Okay.
But,
We already did it.
but I
did-
guess, what Jonathan's point is that would it be appropriate to involve a lawyer in getting the statement? And if we write it, have him approve it, I have no problem, that's a cheaper route than have
We
him
already
write
did
something.
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Be- before the posting?
Before the posting.
Before the posting, y'all send
We
it
can do
to
it
attorney?
before the posting.
No, you said
No, I said.
he approved it
He approved it after.
after the fact. To your
Okay.
point,
Oh, yeah,
So
but
I'll make a
Well, he
motion.
said it's not illegal.
Look, I make a motion, we, in the future, whether we write it or ask him to write it, we have something that the lawyer's read before it's posted regarding the lawsuit. Only the lawsuit.
Yes.
Nothing else here.
yeah. Second it.
All right, we have a motion on the table by Anderson, second by Blake, to have, if we're gonna post something about the lawsuit on the website, that we take it to the, council, Attorney Berman, for approval. All those in favor? And that passes 5-0. Thank you for that. All right, number 6, proposed employee handbook. All right, so, we had, I guess, I don't know, for a while, we've had people request this. I know is, I have about 20 employees myself. We have employee handbooks. Now, they aren't this long. We actually got this from the, city of Lono. I had to heavily edit it. They're much bigger than we are. They have automobiles and we don't have such things, owned by the town. But, I did ask Attorney Berman about the employee handbook and he said it's fine, as far as he can tell. He said, I was thinking that the drug scene was very, very detailed. He said that's fine. It's, it's a necessary thing this day and age. So
Did he read the whole thing?
it's 40 pages for 2 part-time employees.
I know.
This is not what we've been asking for. We've been asking for a code of conduct.
This is what we need though.
We need a code of conduct that regulates this.
No, we need.
Yes.
We do have a code of conduct in a section in our rules of procedure. But we need an employee manual with 2 employees.
Part-time.
Okay, yeah, we need an employee manual so that when we can do evaluations and we have a handbook to back it up. Because I've mentioned a law code on employee law, and if you don't have it in your handbook, then guess what? You can't enforce it. Or if there's problems with your employees, then you there's certain things you can't do unless it's in your handbook.
Okay, we're making edits here tonight.
I was gonna bring this up because I've seen it from the opposite way. I wrote a handbook for, the company that I had a share of ownership in at the time, and we discussed it as a board and decided against employing any handbook, because the handbook can be used against you
Absolutely
as well
right,
as for
Simeon.
you. So it made sense for us to avoid having something that any ex-employee could pick up and use as ammunition against us. Sometimes in employee handbooks, if, at least in the private sector, if you don't have an inclusion for, letting somebody go, if it's not anything that they broke within the handbook, then you open yourself up for potential discrimination lawsuits. So it's a double-edged sword. That's what I bring.
But the way this one's written,
It's-
it's an at-will, we
is.
can do it for whatever
It is.
reason anyway.
It's a decently written one.
Yeah,
The city of University Park has way more employees and has a smaller handbook than this.
I have a smaller handbook for
And
mine.
we have 2 part-time employees. I think we could do it in a lot fewer pages.
Well,
we gonna
and
sit here
I'm
and
just
edit
bringing
this?
it-
No,
just
I don't wanna
bringing
edit this
it-
down.
No, I'm just bringing this to say, hey,
Not today.
look over it,
Every
if
page.
there's places that you
Oh,
wanna
every
edit.
page.
Oh, yeah, I went through
Send
it.
to me and we'll,
fell
I will
asleep.
start over. I want to look for a smaller,
we,
and Berman would be a great advocate to reach out to his other cities.
well, I
He's
mean,
approved them.
the city secretary can reach out. We reached out to a few cities and I guess it's a busy season because they didn't answer. This is one.
Simeon,
yeah.
to your point, some things are purposefully vague.
Yep.
They have sections that address them, but they're purposely vague. When you spell out things in such detail, like this drug section, which is horribly written, you're gonna find yourself in a deposition.
Well, hopefully we don't have that issue.
100%
And
hope
I
not.
suppose I'd like to start with asking, what problem is this employee manual seeking to solve?
Our auditor requested, she asked us, where's your employee handbook? So I can take it to
if
her
there were
and
no-
ask.
no-
She's gonna come next month and give a report.
Right, no constraints on that, we could do something like super simple.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I said, so we're working on it, and that was the honest truth. We'd only gotten, even though we asked from a couple cities, we only got the one from Lone Oak. Now, it is longer than I anticipated, but, I think it has some good detail in it, but, we can, if you guys wanna digest it, and we'll come back, and if you wanna send me like your ideas and edits, and we can, come back and.
Is this something
So
we
is
take to the
it-
forum maybe, where we can sort of?
We don't use it
interact?
for them.
Well, I'd
Code
say,
of conduct's only, Mike.
I also felt like it needed to be more vague, and some of the edits that I put in that were corrected in here were to make it more vague. And I'll say the other thing, having been grilled in an EEOC hearing before, they do go after the details. If an employee has a problem and you get hauled into an EEOC and you have to testify, then you have to go directly by what is said here, and it's, I mean, Simeon's partly right, it could be a problem. On the other hand, if it's well worded or vague enough, it can actually enable us to get out, and that was the edits that I gave Tara, was ways to make it more vague so that it made it more difficult for somebody if we were in an EOC hearing and one of us had to testify. Now, I'm not thinking of today, our 2 employees, I'm thinking of 20 years down the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't intend to be on the council.
But let it grow organically. Write
As
one that
needed.
write one that fits us now,
Right.
and edit it as we organically grow.
Well, and this was heavily edited already, cause I mean, but yeah, it can be edited some more. But I would like to attend an update on employee law, so I've had one course on that. And, they really stress that you really need your handbook and it needs to be updated at least every other year. And so I would like to have opportunity to do that so that we can kind of be up. And I'd like to talk to the auditor more about why she asked about it, because she did ask.
Yeah, is
Where
that
is
a
it?
legal necessity? I mean,
Well,
did she specify why
I'm
she
not
was
sure.
asking for it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Then she may have some minimum requirements she wants to
She
see.
It may just be on their checklist, it may not be a legal thing, it may just be that that's something they ask for and they ask, and
Yeah,
so
maybe.
we may be taking on more of a burden here than she, and I do appreciate very much the hard work that went into this, it's super comprehensive, which we were gigantic, but it'd be fun, just as an exercise to see, could we sort of in 1 or 2 pages
Absolutely.
come up with something that's just very vague. Your employment is at will, we expect, above and beyond conduct, and just hit the highlights.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just call that the beginning, that's it.
And keep it simple.
Right,
yeah.
keep it very, I mean, just,
So
Because
what
you can
happens
change, you can
if
change
you-
it at any.
You can, but then what, then you're behind the 8 ball, so what happens if you, lo and behold, someone, God forbid, gets addicted to pharmaceutical drugs?
You can fire them at will at any time,
Yeah.
without cause.
Without cause.
Without cause.
Which is stated in here heavily, but it does,
Well-
I don't know if you need all the other stuff with it.
yeah, I mean, you just sort of say, your employment is at will, and here's sort of what we expect out of you, and everything else is, you know.
Well, and then the defense though is that, well, you didn't tell me that, it wasn't in writing anywhere.
Yeah, but you
So
can't
then
avoid
we,
that.
so then we change it, and it's effective immediately, and here's the new
Well, I don't know, you
policy.
can't do it
This
after
says
the
you
fact.
can in here.
This says
This
you
says
can.
you can in here if you read it, guys.
Yeah, and if
Well,
they're
I mean,
gonna,
if
It's
somebody-
not retro, but if we're disciplining her for her appearance or her lack of clothing, and we say you have to wear a long sleeve shirt, it's effective immediately. She can no longer. She can choose to leave the city, or she agrees by staying.
yeah,
But, okay, so knowing,
Said about no green hair.
so, I don't know, I would, again, I'd like to attend like an employee law and see where they are on that, cause they're obviously more versed and well-versed at that than any of us, I think,
the
Well,
one,
I think
They better be.
you know, the current, the lawsuit we just went through, I think, is just a reminder, anybody that's willing to pay a filing fee can sue you for any reason. It doesn't mean that there's merit, and it doesn't mean that there's a likely outcome in their favor, but, so to me, you know, the state and the federal government is filled with attempts to idiot-proof the world, and I just don't think you can do that. I don't think you can, you know, so just kinda keep it simple and hire a good lawyer, cause
we've
Well,
done
well,
that.
you
I
know,
mean, you're not gonna catch every case, there's all these corner cases, you know, okay, so I got hooked on meth, but it was like blue meth. And you didn't call out blue meth in your manual, so now, you know, it's like, okay.
well, I guess just to correct one thing is if somebody, an employee wanted to sue, they'd go through the EEOC. They wouldn't hire a lawyer. We might have to, but it's, for them, it's free.
If it's a Title VII lawsuit.
It's,
Yeah.
Any
depending
other-
on it.
yeah.
But the ones that I saw was they went through the EEOC, and so the EEOC acted like the judge and jury and everything, and I had to testify, and then I didn't bring it, I had to testify for the company, and then the EEOC lawyer is a judge and jury, and they find, and we, the company, have to turn around and pay. So in the case that I was involved in, we had to end up paying because the EEOC guy said so. So when I read it, that's the way I looked at it, is how can we make it more vague so that even if an EEOC guy is grilling me on this, is that I have some outs in it. And so I tried to add some
We
outs.
spent a lot of time editing and we
Oh.
included all those edits, so, yeah.
I think the EEOC, to your point, is the least editable portion of this. Title VII laws are Title VII laws.
Right.
And they're protected by
You
those
have to
laws.
support it.
Well, yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so
I agree
wouldn't
with you, but
judge.
to your point,
Yeah, we can't arbitrarily discriminate against handicapped people.
That's right.
We just can't. We're not allowed to, period. We have to support all of that federal and
that's right.
state legislation.
But in our hiring practices, we could be in violation because we didn't. We made the appearance that we weren't looking for both genders. We could be sued for that, and they would have a case, and it would be on the EEOC to weigh in on that.
Well,
But that's just one section.
Well, and
indicate-
on our solicitation of our secretary, we did put he or she.
That's right.
If that's not all the pronouns, right? So somebody could say we didn't use all the pronouns, so.
Yeah.
I don't even know them, but.
Anyway,
Well, neither do I, but-
I agree with the point, it sure would be nice to have it simpler and more straightforward, but on the other hand, how would that work if we were sued? And that's something that an HR person would really need to answer. You know, there's people that specialize in that, none of us do.
So Tara, I think I heard you say earlier that you would go back to the auditor and get some clarification
I
as to
would
what
like
they're
to.
looking for and just why they need it.
I'd
Because
be in favor of that, to see just, do they need something more basic, or do they need it spelled out as clearly as this is? And I think that's right,
I have
as a next step, before we vote on it.
I have a question too. There's one thing that was missing in this. I'd like to see some longevity pay.
It's in there.
Oh, well, we edited it and
Oh,
we put
oh,
that in there.
oh,
Because
oh, good.
That was, no, we
Oh.
had Anderson give edits and we had Blake, and she worked her tail off trying to get all the edits
Oh.
in there for tonight, so.
I didn't-
Longevity pay is in there now, that's one thing.
And that's
that-
funny because I crossed it out on mine.
Well,
Oh, really?
Why would you do
Thanks
that?
a lot.
the budgetary parts of it. Pay them more money.
No, a Christmas bonus, come on, are you?
Well, that's what it is a Christmas
It's like a
bonus.
Christmas bonus,
But
unless
it's also
in-
an encouragement to stay around for,
Unless, well,
Yeah.
the water board gave theirs Christmas bonus, so, yeah,
longevity.
well, the thing is, unless it's in your handbook, you can't do it.
yeah.
So that's another reason to have a
Have it.
handbook, and I know, the water board gave, really nice Christmas bonuses, so why can't we do that for our own secretaries? And then, I think the
Well-
way you worded it was,
Well,
first
it's
one
6 hours for, would be, so that way it's based on the hourly rate. So if that changes, it increases as well. We're not locked into a figure. And 6 hours for every year that you've worked. So, around
Up to
100,
10.
up to 10 years, basically, so that,
So I guess back to our motion is that I think this any auditor that does, whether it's us or companies, they do get the company employee manuals. They have to. And so she's seen plenty of them, no doubt. That's what they do, is they audit towns like us, churches, things like this, nonprofits. So they should have seen enough, this woman, Debbie Taylor, should have seen enough of them to know whether this is overdoing it or about right, or, should we? Should we?
I don't think
be
we have to
okay
vote
cut
on this
back?
though, do we?
No.
So
No.
I'd be
No,
willing
we
to
just
listen
need
to
more
ask.
But
information.
if you have, edits that you would, like to present that you think are really important, please do, speak up or send them to me and we can, are there certain things, I know you've marked up, of course, we got all your edits, but if there's edits that you think really need to be taken out or, be interested in that?
So I guess the motion is, can we just go back to Debbie Taylor and ask her?
Yeah.
If
I don't
she-
need a
her
motion.
experience-
We don't have to
We
vote.
just need more information. I don't think
Yeah.
it takes a motion.
Based on her experience,
Right.
looking at a lot of these.
So I have a note here to ask the
Because that's
auditor
their
and
primary
probably-
duty is to, this law firm, this accounting firm, they work with nonprofits. They don't really work that much with companies. So they should have seen a lot of these.
Well, and I would add to that, Tom, I would ask them, if, what's like the shortest employee manual you've ever seen? I mean,
Yeah,
house
qualify
is
the
sink.
questions.
House is sink, can we make this thing or can it be made,
Well,
just see.
and ask her if that is the right approach, it might be, but it may not be, in
So-
my opinion.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's a good move to make before we vote on
Well, and
this.
isn't that something
Yeah, I
we
think
pose to
we're
our attorney as well, cause he would be
Well, and I asked
defending
him,
us.
right, he said, he said it's fine, he said that,
Well, this one is, yeah, it's pretty rich.
well, and I asked him, I said, so, gosh, do they have a problem with drugs in their counties as well? Nowadays, it's pretty much the
Well,
norm.
I don't know his experience either. He's municipal attorney, so he sees enough of this. On the other hand, as a first step, an easy first step is just ask Debbie Taylor.
Yeah.
Is this overblown or is it what they need?
Okay.
And get her opinion.
Agreed.
All right, we'll do that, and we'll bring it back, either.
And then we can, if he says, no, we need a lot more detail, well, then maybe it's approach Mr. Berman.
Makes sense.
Okay, number 7, okay, moving on, so, number 7 was the volunteer road team is needing $5,500 to work on CR 249 sides and other areas as needed. That road, has some really bad shoulders, and so, I guess you saw the spreadsheet of where we spent the money, and we have $184.20 left, so that's not gonna do it, so we need to get another funding for the, volunteer team to be able to take care of business.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I wanna talk.
Okay.
This
go.
doesn't show the 6,500 that was approved in November.
No, because that's a whole nother project on 4 posts, and that's gonna happen tomorrow, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it
Okay,
didn't start.
well, all these, that's Green Meadow, 4 posts.
Yeah, that hasn't happened, it's gonna, so this is the ones that have already occurred.
Completed.
So that's supposed to happen tomorrow on 4 posts. And once that does, then we can include that on there.
Okay.
But that's, now the $10,000, now we upped it to $10,000.
Oh, that's right.
Two.
For 4 posts, and I think we said, and you guys help my recollection, anything left over could be spent on other roads.
Other roads, yes.
Okay, so, they are supposed, anyway, I don't wanna get sidetracked, but they are supposed to do that tomorrow, and we ran into roller, and we got that all in the works works there, so
And the next project sheet will show that.
it would, and what we've spent. And then
I mean, I
you'll
think-
see an overage.
As for me, I very much appreciate the willingness of Kevin and others to do this and would never hesitate to support them.
No.
I think this is where our money should be spent.
Absolutely.
This is a
Agreed.
good use of our money. It's the reason we're
agree.
collecting it.
Right.
It all needs to go right back into the road.
We can't feed it fast enough.
Yeah, no, just keep, as long as they're, not wore out, we need to keep using them.
Well, I did,
They can have all the money they ask for.
Well, but it's all predicated on what happens with the next commissioner in Coffin
Yes.
County.
Well, hopefully this gets better.
Yeah.
so I talked
Maybe.
with him today, and not to get
But we don't know
sidetracked,
yet.
But yeah, he'll need some time to have a little learning curve, and he said, give me some time, so.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
All right, we have a motion by Anderson,
No.
second, or who made
Me.
the motion?
Jaffe.
Motion by
Second.
Jaffe, second by
Jonathan
Blake,
Blake.
and to approve the $5,500 to work on CR 249 sides and other areas as needed. All those in favor, and that passes 5-0. Okay. Number 8, discuss the objective road data rating system for refurbishment priority placement or order. So I know several people have requested this. I started this probably in October, but I will tell you, in years past, I was guesstimating on how many, because I really didn't have a good way to do that except driving the road and looking at my odometer. So I've taught with some help, I learned how to work the CAD program and how to take the roads and measure them. And so, finally had some time to, apply this data. So I developed this, Excel spreadsheet with a little help from my husband, on making it look better. But, so I took all the roads and then the homes per road, and that was basically using the CAD. Now, are 100% of them correct? Probably not. So if a structure may be a barn, it may be a home, but if there was a structure that looked like a home, it went on here. So I'm sure there's no perfection in any of this, but I certainly tried. The distance, of course, that was the measurement using the CAD tool.
And that's based on the city boundary, right, or the town boundary?
Yes.
Okay.
So all the roads, well, I mean,
So like 2400 goes past your place and past Ken's place, but it
yes.
stops.
Stop,
down at-
so on the CAD tool, you're stopping, and then I had to add, now, there is a possibility that it's overstated, because when you cut and splice and you add the segments, cause a road does this, and in the tool, you've gotta do straight, and so there's a possibility of an overestimation, probably more so that than an underestimation, so,
You had the numbers from the engineers. Should've just plugged them in. Point to point on that thing.
so,
2400 is gonna have 2 points on it, and they got a length of road on there. You could've just plugged that number in.
Yeah, but that doesn't take into account the wiggle.
yeah.
They do. That's what they told us they did.
Well,
Yeah, when I audited all the roads, y'all remember the ones I found that were
Well,
wrong,
you can
but
double check it if you'd like.
I have.
Yeah, it'd be a
I
good
have.
way to check it.
Yeah, so I think the CAD is fairly, okay with that, but, yeah, considering the wiggles, it allows you to do the splicing. So there might be a few that are overestimated, but I don't think they're underestimated. So then the question was, is it a cut-through road? And I ranked it higher, why is yes. If it's a cut-through road, there's a lot more traffic and it probably gets more truck traffic. So that would be given a ranking of 5. If it's not, then it would be a ranking of 1. So trying to come up with Tom's question list and make it an objective. How do we get a number system to make it more objective? Was what I was trying to accomplish here. So only exit for residents, yes is 5, or no, it would be 1. So if that's their only egress, then that needs to be a higher priority. But if you guys want to think differently, then that's why we're here. I want to ask your opinion on some of this. The estimate of vehicles per day. Now, what the engineer told me was they typically count 2. When we went through some of Poetry, they said you normally count 2 vehicles per home. That's what they do. So depending on, on the home, I just took the number of vehicles per home and then calculate that. If it was greater than 100, that would get a 5. If it was greater than 50, that would be a 3. If it was greater than 20, that would be a 2. If it's less than 10, that would be a 1. Then the residents who live on the road, and TCQ counts 3 persons per home. So so that's where you get that number. And if it's greater than 100, then that would be 5, 75 to 99 would be 4, 50 to 76, 3, 49 to 20, 2, and less than 19, a 1. Then the length of road, now, the rationale for this was, okay, we're a small town, we're still building that bank up for the road, so if it's smaller, we could probably do it more quickly. And just like kind of, I guess, if some of you done what is the guy, Dave Ramsey course, he says, you know, if you got debt, you go with the smallest first. And Financial Peace University, I think they do that. So I was just kind of, that mentality is, okay, if we can do a small chunk first and take care of that, then that was given a higher ranking. Ditches need to be cleaned out. If it says no, that would be a 5, because that means we can get on it, and then yes, it'd be a 1. So you'll notice I had, that one actually I need your assistance in. If you are driving the road and you see a ditch that needs cleaned out, please email me or text me, and that will help, because the only one that I'm for sure needs to be cleaned out is 249 is really bad. So that needs to be dug out. Now we know that stretch of 2326 was dug out, and they did a good job right before the bridge there. So that one was done, but I haven't gone through, I hadn't time to go through and like rank every road based on the ditches. General road condition, poor would be a 5. I mean, we can pretty much see, if it's fair, it would be given a 3, and if it's good, we have 1, and we have no excellent roads. So that's 0 though. But we have some good roads. There are some pretty decent good roads in our town. And so there's, you know, several ones. Most of them are 3s. And there are some that are just really poor, and that was given a 5. The subsurface intact. And so following the engineers, the way they explained it, and talking to Luke from Texas Materials, who is very well versed in this, when you see the subsurface and you can see where it's not intact, then that's where the ranking would, 5 would be a poor, 3 would be fair, good would be 1, and excellent would be 0. So again, trying to give it some sort of objective rating there. Now, the oil seal needed.
Sorry, back up a second. I think
Okay.
the word you want on that one is intact, INTACT.
You're right, that was a misspell.
So
Yeah,
there's the
you're right.
typo.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it looks
I
like we're
think
back
it's
to
a,
TACR or some
it's
other.
a correction.
Autocorrect.
Like an autocorrect or
Yeah,
something,
that's fine.
Thank you for that. Alright, so the oil seal, now that I didn't include in the score, because that's just kind of one of those things that I think we brought up a few meetings back, is, okay, it's a nicety, maybe. If there's a road that would benefit from it, I thought it'd be interesting to have a column.
This is to deal with the spider cracks. This is
Yes,
where you-
but with this new method that Commissioner Monroe is doing, I think it's gonna take care of a lot of that, you know, we were pretty concerned
The
about.
skim coating where they were just
When he's
skimming it.
doing, yeah, so I'm not sure that one's even needed, we might even, you know, take that one out of there. And then the total score, the highest, of course, is a priority, so you can see 2458 got a score of 25, and that gives it a 3rd place placement. Now, again, I don't have the ditches in here, so I would solicit your help in that. Number 1 is 2326, based on, now if we get this thing passed, because it's become a real pass-through road, and there's been a lot of
That's a
traffic on.
feeder road. I mean,
Oh
it's
my
busy.
goodness, you know, my
It is
windows are.
Crazy
It is,
busy.
and 2400's now a pass-through road since they fixed the bridge, in the bottoms. So there's been quadruple, I imagine, the traffic there.
Somebody put out counters on 2326 a while back. Did we get that data? Rubber hose counters.
Really?
Yeah.
There was one on 2434 too for a few days.
Right, there was
Huh.
one on 2326 at Miss Daniel's house, right where you make the turn to go to 1565. There was one there
Really?
for maybe 48 hours, and then it
Yeah.
disappeared.
Did you know what entity did that?
No, it just showed up. I thought it was
See,
a
I
piece of
wasn't
hose laying in the road, and I looked, and the
Well,
box was over on the side.
Yeah, it would have to be, I would think the county, if it's a county
Well,
road.
that's what I wonder if we asked David, if they
Yeah,
put it out.
that's
And
what I-
could we get the data? It'd be interesting to know the traffic.
But that's what I
He didn't
assumed when I
mention
saw it,
anything.
is that I guess the Hunt County's out counting traffic here
Yeah, those
on
things aren't cheap.
2434.
I mean, they didn't just, it's not a citizen. I mean, it's some
Right.
Or was it
entity.
the electric company? Was it a
No,
Spectrum?
No.
it was
a-
the old school rubber hose across the road, box chained to a telephone pole kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. business doing a traffic study.
Yeah, but it'd have to be the county. If it was 1565, it'd be the state.
Somebody, a business would have to get approval from the
Yes.
person
Yeah,
owning the road.
I think it's.
I mean,
I
those
guess
are nice.
there was one thing, Tara, because I looked at several of these from, other communities, and one category they always have that we don't have on a column is urgency. Now, it's kind of picked up in some of these others, is
Well, the total score is kind of an urgency.
a sense of
isn't it?
urgency, yeah. But the ones I've read, they said, one of the questions always is the urgency, in addition to everything else we have here. So it's kind of subjective as to what the urgency is. You have to pick it up from the others. It isn't really stated. If I was gonna add one other column, I would say something about urgency.
So how would you score that? So we have a scoring system, so like the 20.
It's 1 or 5.
Well, okay, so when you say okay, so to me, you could say general road condition, quote, in parentheses, urgency, poor would be 5, and you could cover it that way.
But shouldn't the urgency be a compilation of all these other things?
Well, that's
kinda
what,
is.
well,
Well,
that's
If it's
where
a
the score
cul-de-sac,
comes
there's
in.
a ton of houses on it, it's falling apart, I mean, that's,
And they're only way in
What's
and
it
out.
like,
But,
right?
yeah,
But Mike, mathematically, you could do that.
and it'd still not be the highest score unless
Might
we,
not.
So on this.
unless we give it unless if urgency is a 10, then it almost moves something up the scale.
But when I kind of
But
just
then
Googled up.
that allows a lot of subjectiveness in that.
Well, it's kind of like when the culvert washed out.
That
That's a 10, or it's because it has to get done, so it kind of goes ahead of the lines. But that may just
Yeah.
something we have to deal with.
But that one you handle the day of, it's not gonna, this is
that
long
was an
range.
emergency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was an emergency, there was no passing. But
Overnight it
this is to
disappeared.
me, I mean, and maybe I'm wrong, but this to me is like saying, okay, this is what we're gonna plan for, to spend our money on in next year and the year after and all of that.
But it's-
I agree. I do think that some tweaking of this needs to come into place just because of, length of rows and residents being such an overwhelming force that, for example, second line CR 2468, the rest of the roads are never gonna be under 13, even if they're in excellent condition. So that road will theoretically be at the bottom of the list pretty much forever. So
Well,
I
then
think
it
that
would-
road condition
Well,
does
then you
need
would,
that.
maybe
You
you
would
wait,
update it.
maybe
You
you
would-
weight these things,
Yeah.
right? So
Right,
certain
it
ones
needs to be
have like a
weighted.
multiplier or something that weights them.
But
Right.
wouldn't it change, like if you did this every 6 months or every quarter even, it might change. Roads change within a week, sometimes
What
2
I'm
weeks.
saying is if all of them were excellent and that one was poor, it'd still be at the
Bottom
of
of
the
the,
pack.
it can't get enough scores. What he's saying.
But urgency is the kind of thing that if, say, people were trapped, they couldn't get through the road, or fire equipment couldn't get in, anything like that, then the urgency would be very high regardless of some of these other issues. And it's more or less for timing. And anyway, when I looked at it, it said, assess it. Yeah, this assesses. And by the way, I like this. I'm not criticizing it
it's
at all.
great.
It says, somehow you gotta assess urgency. You gotta have a matrix, which this is. You gotta be able to communicate, which this does. And then something that you can come back and review from time to time, which just meets all those criteria. So I actually like it, even though, I can't validate all of the numbers. I looked at the one I live on, 2434, and I thought, yeah, it's pretty reasonable. I wouldn't suggest much different there, but I don't know all the other roads, so somebody else might come in here and have a different view on the numbers on other roads.
Well, you're almost going to have the same individual do this
So they
each
use
time.
the same
Because
thought process.
if you look at a road and I look at a road, we're just going to judge it differently. We just are.
Plus the roads change.
And the roads change. That's true.
We get a big flood, a road will wash out.
Yeah.
Well,
So
after 4 years of looking at roads every month, they do change. Like, you can change within a week and a half. Like, really. I mean, it's amazing to me. I'm like, wow, where
Well,
did that come from? Like a
and then
sinkhole, where did that come from?
And then we get this mud coming in, it's gonna be worse.
So, and then
But-
you have,
but anyway,
things
that-
change.
That's the only thing I had to say. And by the way, there's one, I can't read, it's on residents
have
who live
to-
on road 3,
You have to change it on Excel.
3/400,
So, yeah, that's greater than 100 equals 5. You have to
Yeah.
change it on
greater than
Excel.
100,
Yeah,
okay.
there is it's an overlap.
Three per house, and 100 or greater is.
Okay, and then, that could be fixed, and then the
Yeah,
one
you stretch 'em out on
subsurface,
Excel.
subsurface
Yeah,
impact?
No,
Is that what-
intact.
Intact.
Intact, one word.
Yeah, no, it should be, TACNAG is on my mind. I guess.
So I had a few questions. I think the ditches, actually the numbers are in reverse. I think if the ditches need to be cleaned out, they should get a higher rating.
But we can't do road work until that's done. That would be a whole separate
Well,
project, wouldn't it?
but if this is counting into the aggregate score, ditches not needing to be cleaned would get 5 points, and therefore the ditches could be causing the problem, which is allowing the water to seep under the edges.
Yeah.
I really don't think this is the appropriate place for that. I think that should be maybe a whole nother
Maybe it's
issue.
separate.
It's a
Maybe
separate
I think
issue.
it's separate because, like on 249, I'm like, I don't want to spend a dime until we get the ditches cleaned out on 249, but that's a whole nother project sheet.
So County Road 249, where it's flooding, and Kevin can speak of this, and there's some other county roads, when the water gets up and it starts running across the road, then you get that erosion, it takes the loose gravel. And so the ditches are super important, but I think they're a separate,
Well, maybe
So
that's a
you're-
Comfort.
right-of-way spreadsheet or something, or
So
right-of-way
you're suggesting
spreadsheet.
like maybe put it where the oil seal was and it's not part of the.
it's
equation,
not a
but it-
count, it's not an
but it
aggregate.
doesn't count, but it's something we
We're
need to be aware
evaluating.
of.
That's
And-
correct.
And then that would be a separate
That's
project
correct.
sheet, and then so until that's done, we can't do the
Yeah,
other.
and I think there's, so obviously, I think selfishly, we probably all looked at our roads first, right?
Because you drive them every day.
Well, we're most knowledgeable.
Right,
Yeah.
so to your point, the distance is a little off, but it falls within the brackets that it got assigned. The cut-through road, it was assigned a 1, that it's not a
Not.
cut-through, that's correct. The exit is assigned a 1, that it is not a single exit. That is the only entry and exit on 2430, so it would generate a score of 5.
2430,
Yep.
and I may have a, let's see, where's 2430?
Hunt County.
There it is.
It's number 16.
So that would generate 5 on that one. That's a big determinant.
Oh, so
determinant.
yeah, 2430, yes, so,
Okay.
yeah, that's why I'm bringing it to you, cause
Right.
I'm not.
And
gonna-
I
it's
think
not-
they would all need
yeah.
the equal audit, because as you're typing in numbers, I get your eyes get crossed. So, the next category, the estimate of vehicles, I think that's really good. Unfortunate, 2430 is also another anomaly. It's the only road that has a sand pit that is active with 30 to 50 18-wheelers a day on it.
Well, maybe.
It should get special attention.
So,
Okay, yeah,
commercial
no,
traffic, is that a
Commercial
category?
traffic,
Maybe
and
put a
it's
home
serving,
there.
and it's serving a property that's not in the town limits. You can't stop it.
Yeah.
So that brings up a good point. So what if we have a separate category, if we can make room here, for, not just vehicles, vehicular traffic, but like construction type traffic? Because it
Yeah.
will vary.
It could vary, yeah. You get someone, to his point, they're building a business for a while. That road is gonna have extreme traffic and
And it may
So
be
that's,
rented out.
that's like a prediction of how fast it'll wear out though. Should it really change how we prioritize it for fixing? Because while it might get into a poor condition faster, if it's
Well, we're
not in a
counting the
poor
traffic, though.
condition, should we really service it more?
No, I agree, and I see which way you're going, but if we're counting vehicles per road, a heavy truck, as we know per the studies we've seen, have a larger impact on those
Yeah, they're
roads.
like 10
They're breaking the
times.
edges of the roads
Yeah.
quicker and deeper, they're messing up the substructures,
Right.
so.
Well, that's why I
I
say
guess
another
the big
column for
question
commercial
is
traffic
then-
would just add to the points
Yeah.
on that road.
Right. Why even have the traffic at all? That is gonna break it down faster, yes, but
Well, like-
why should that make it be fixed sooner? If it's not broken,
Well, like
Yeah,
2400, for instance, okay, so now that it's a pass-through road, there's a lot more trucks, I hear them at night, trucks coming through, and it's deteriorating more rapidly, I
So,
see it, it's
do we just,
deteriorating. It's
do we
just
track it and not
automatically
give it a
getting-
value, just so that we know that, why does this road keep coming up? Future councilman, why does this road keep
I
coming up?
don't think just generating a top a score in that one category would generate a repair.
Yeah,
It's probably gonna prove the point of why the road is in poor shape.
Yeah.
It's gonna be more supportive than it would
So
be.
2430 seems, I mean.
So it could
I
be
didn't
a
put
It's the sides of the road. I bet we've
Yeah.
lost 4 feet on that road.
so it could be a yes or no, not a numbers.
It could.
Yeah.
It
Okay,
could.
well,
Yeah.
by the way, one of these I looked at, they talked about comparing an equivalent truck, 18-wheeler, to a car. And the number, it takes, and I don't remember
It was
exact number.
exponential.
Yeah, it
Oh,
takes
yeah.
like 50 cars to make one
It's a lot.
or it may be more than that to make, for one truck.
And that's why we're waiting on the data from the speed sign.
Yeah,
Because it
so,
played into
so
effect.
one truck, just because we say how many cars a day, well, one truck
Is
can
that
equal 50.
3x
or-
multiplier.
Yeah,
Right.
at least.
Right.
And depending on how it is and the
But then we'll-
substructure.
yeah.
So anyway, I guess my point is that if something has a truck, a heavy truck traffic, that would modify the number of cars that
It would.
go over it.
It would, but what I'm saying is, should that affect our priority in
Would that
repair?
make it
Like,
more
let's say there's
urgent to us, right?
two roads, same population, both a mile long roads. One has commercial traffic, but one's in worse condition.
Well-
Are you really gonna weight the commercial traffic that's in better condition just because it happens to have trucks going across
We
it?
may or may not, and that's, I guess that'd be my answer, is it depends.
Well, another point of consideration would be Poetry Springs. I mean, a typical wedding probably brings
Oh,
like
50
50 to
cars.
100 vehicles, catering vehicles, cars.
Yeah.
Right.
But does that make it more important to, I mean, I don't know.
No, but it's be worth tracking though, so that we can, if that road keeps coming up for repairs, at least we're tracking the traffic. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so
And would it
maybe-
generate a reason for quicker preventative
No.
care, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, well, it
Yeah,
might,
might-
it might,
Possibly instead of doing.
letting it have to
get-
rebuild the whole road.
Getting to a bad number, hey, this is a high
if you don't fix
frequency
it, it's gonna
road,
grow real fast.
let's do the spider repairs on it.
Yeah,
Because it's a high frequency road.
yeah.
So what if, instead of in the gray area, instead of the oil seal, what if we do special considerations?
Yeah.
And then we put little notes like, okay, this is where the event center is, this is where the sand pit
It
is.
is.
This is special considerations, so we're all aware, we're all
Yeah.
thinking, okay,
This is the mayor's
this
road.
is the reason.
I didn't hear that.
Now, my road.
But one of the
is
criteria is being able to review, and I think this does give us something to keep reviewing and updating as time goes on.
I think the green section is gonna be a fixed number, but there needs to be some corrections. There's 2430 is incorrect. It should've got a score of 5, it's 0.6 or less. So that's a fixed number, but
Okay.
that's also an easy formula to plug in there.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
reference the distance one and it'll assign the numbers.
If you see any errors, please tell me, because again, it's a lot of numbers and.
Very good work.
So something else, one other thing I'd like to ask the council, are we gonna consider 2430 is also the only city-maintained road that's rock? We have other rock roads, but city-maintained. And does that go into effect? There's never been any rock dumped on that road that I haven't purchased since being a councilman. There's never been bladed by the county. Does it
So
need
you sure it's not a private road? You're 100% sure?
County Road 2431?
Well.
I mean,
take it-
2430 that I live
yeah,
on? No.
Yeah, okay, no.
100%.
Let me explain, because.
I understand what you're saying.
Trojan Horse Estates formed, and they had 2450. The first mile is in the town, or, excuse me, wait, that way.
2451.
The first mile is a city-maintained road. The second section of that is a private section of the road, same road. So I thought that your road, I mean, was similar in that.
Yeah, you can ask Monroe for his road maps. 2430 goes down and makes the corner. You used to exit all the way to 1565. The county abandoned it at the end of my
So
property.
it's not a private road.
That is not a private road. Now, if you take a left right there, CAD shows it as County Road 2331, but the CAD maps are notoriously incorrect. It's private road 2331. It's never been maintained by the county.
So,
But back to the question, does that, because it doesn't have a subsurface, it only has a surface.
yeah,
Special considerations that it
Listen.
might just need a load of rock on
And-
it.
Well, and I have asked him about that. He did tell me one time, he goes, well, we can't get it this round because we're dealing with asphalt mix. That's gonna need some gravel. So he did bring some
Yeah.
gravel out. So, that's what he said.
He didn't.
He didn't.
why don't we do a worksheet then? for-
Well, and that's fine. I'm not asking for that. I'm saying should that road in the future, because we're generating something, to Tom's point, that should carry on in lineage, should that
Yeah,
have
it should-
special
it
consideration?
should
I
be-
mean,
it
that
should be-
road's in pretty good shape.
You think?
I mean.
I'll work on it.
Comparatively,
Well,
but
good job.
Yeah, 2430, when it has a hole in it, I go and take white rock out of my pile and put in it and get asphalt from Home Depot and put on top of that.
yeah.
So,
I know
because I don't want to drive in them. My
Is-
0.6 miles.
Is there,
All that
if,
volunteer service right there.
but if you're putting rock on the road, is there a place that we can have the county, or can we buy a load of rock and have it put somewhere?
I don't want to get into that. That's
Well,
the
we buy asphalt and Kevin puts it out. What's the difference if you're gonna?
Yeah,
if
there's
we're-
the conflict. If did he use that on his driveway? I just don't want to get into it.
You
I
would not
appreciate
use
it.
that on your driveway.
That's right. That's right. It's higher than you think now.
How long a
550.
stretch is it from that corner back?
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet?
I just,
Okay.
we're willing to overwork him to do stuff. I don't mind overworking you by giving you a load of
I-
rock.
The skid steer really wears out my arms, so yeah, I'm not shoveling it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, having the material stockpiled there
At
makes
the
it,
end of it,
at the
'cause
end
it
of
is a dead end.
it would be a much easier way, and then it's there when you have the time.
The only way I would agree to that is if it was a different color rock than my pea gravel on my driveway, like a black recycled asphalt, so everybody knows where the rock went.
That's
And then-
fine.
But then you're gonna have people stealing it. I'd just rather stay out of that. To the point, do we need to make a special effort to review those roads or any other road that's?
Well, I think we should, yeah.
I mean, I have driven it,
Yeah.
but it was all, I guess you're doing a good job keeping track of
Keep it nice.
All right, so thank you for if you see any other, things that need to be corrected, please let me know.
I'll
We
send
can do a special consideration under the gray area, scratch the oil seal, since things have changed with Commissioner Monroe, and that's 2/3 of our roads. We'll see, it's yet to be seen what Kelly
Well,
Lane will.
But looking toward Kaufman County, is that a process they do? Do we know that? Do they do
process they do for
the
what?
seal coat? Do they? I mean, I don't want to eliminate this if that's a technique they use on a road.
What? I guess I'm not tracking.
The oil
The oil
seal.
seal. I mean,
I think you mentioned something else instead of oil seal, calling it special.
yeah, but that's
Special
Hunt County.
consideration,
We don't even know. We don't know what. I'm just saying
What they're
we may have to modify this if we get a decent agreement with Kaufman County if they do a different process.
Well, we will have to do an ILA.
Yes.
Because our ILA is not in effect.
Yeah.
So in doing the ILA, we will have those discussions with Kaufman, I mean.
Yeah.
And I'm
Because
sure-
Hunt, our ILA was renewed.
And Kelly Lane will be getting he'll be drinking from a fire hose of information, I'm sure.
Yeah.
and then-
Yeah, I just didn't want to get rid of a process.
Okay.
I want to ask that question.
So I can
During the
squeeze it maybe
ILA
and add
discussion.
in,
Yeah.
keep the oil seal if you want, and then add a special consideration. I
Section.
don't know, it's getting a little tight, but we'll see what I can do.
Well, I mean, you can change it now, but when you have those negotiations,
Yeah,
let's,
yeah, it's a good point to raise
yeah.
in.
you know.
All right, so,
And it's a good job, I think, I like it.
thank you. It was 2 days
Yeah, very
of
nice.
work on that, so thank you. And again, please, if you see any errors, I wanna know them. If you, thank you for.
Terry, we kinda look at our own roads first.
Well, it's true.
I looked at others and found some.
Well, but I know
I'll send them.
for me, that wasn't selfish. I was just trying to see if the numbers kind of fit
I'd say
the
here.
experience, right? It wasn't looking for.
Is it reasonable or not?
Well, and
It's-
do you feel like it's objective enough
Yeah.
that will help us
Well,
going forward? I mean, that was the main goal, is can we put a number to it?
Yeah,
Can we
does it
make
feel about right compared to all the other roads that you drive? And it's like, yeah, it seems
Okay, very good.
seems fair.
All right, so moving on, so that was okay,
So we're
number.
gonna vote or anything, or just
No.
pass it on?
So well, that brings up a point. Do you guys want, we were asked by several citizens to have an objective system. Do you feel like this is enough of a tool that we can go forward with something like this? And I'll make the amendments that we've discussed tonight, and then we can bring it back and.
Yeah, I think, just to be transparent, I would say, yeah, I'd make a motion, we accept this as our way going forward, understanding it's gonna be updated, reviewed, and.
This is
you know,
for
as time goes
pre-plan.
forward.
This is for planning.
Yes.
This is
for
not gonna-
planning.
Planning documents.
Planning, yes.
So if we get a bad storm that comes in and 3 roads get tore up, we're gonna still maintain the ability to have those
Right, because
fixed.
I mean, I looked at quite a few different towns, and they all have something, you know, some way to do it, but it meets what we have now. This would meet the basic criteria, and yet it reflects our needs. I mean, we don't have earthquakes or tornadoes. We do have tornadoes, but not earthquakes. So, you know, it's different for different towns. So I think this is fine for now, and then we'll update as we go forward.
Do you have an idea, do you think it should be rated like every quarter, every 6 months, or like where we change it and we just put new dates on it, like have it maybe for the year, we have it every quarter?
I think it's biennial, in my mind, because we're building project sheets off of this. So
Yeah.
one review would build 6 months worth of projects.
Okay.
and the second review would build another 6 months.
Well, and I'd also say this, whatever we do and whenever we update it, should be turned over to the respective counties. In my opinion, the one for Hunt should go to David Monroe, the one for Kaufman should go to whoever's the
Kelly Lane.
Kelly Lane. They're, so they are working for the same thing we are.
Okay, no, that's, okay.
Makes
So
sense.
I'll make
But
those revisions.
Do you
and
want to
then-
give this to them and let them see if they have anything that we've just totally missed?
That's a great idea. So, yeah, I mean,
Maybe,
I'll be.
hey, we rate them on this. I think
Yeah.
you should really consider that.
Well, and I'll, hopefully Monroe will be better and, you know, we can meet
Well,
and,
well, at least Hunt County, because we've
Yeah.
got the outlay in place.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
Kaufman,
true.
it might be, we have to wait
it may be a little while.
couple
He
months.
needs to get his,
Yeah.
settled, you know, and get his feet under him.
Yeah, just
So,
just swing by and ask Monroe if he sees anything that we should
Yeah,
subjectively look at.
Yeah, I can
Or
email to him.
objectively, I think
and then,
subjectives.
yeah, we can talk about it next month maybe.
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds good.
Alright. Okay, moving on, number 9, discuss the update on the 1445 agreements. I didn't put on here, but I probably should have. Blake asked for this to be on, it was already on, but, so we've sent off, Judge knew, of course, he had dropped the ball a little bit, but he has the signed agreement on our end.
That's Rockwell, right?
I mean, yes, Rockwall, and so, you know, since it was their agreement, they should sign it and send it back to us, so we're just waiting on that. Kaufman County, we mailed off the signed agreement, we had to get Attorney Berman to sign, and the, secretary attested my signature, so that's en route. And of course, that, we had to kinda go with what they prescribed, they were very adamant about that. The, Hunt County is kinda interesting, I've called him twice, I've emailed 3 times, I haven't heard anything, so
Who's he?
on Hunt County, Judge Stovall,
Stovall.
so I don't know if he's there for a while, they were buried under with budget negotiations, and so I don't know.
Would it be better to talk to their attorney since it's a requirement by
Well,
the
I
state?
emailed the attorney too.
Oh, okay.
So, and what he said on the first phone call is, yeah, Daniel Ray is their attorney, has to look at it. And he said, yeah, but if you're using the one from Rockwell County, Daniel's now working with Rockwell County, like, yeah, but I think this was before he was their attorney. So, I don't know, and when I emailed this last time, I just sent it both to Daniel Ray and Judge
Okay.
Stovall. So they have it, I just haven't heard anything, and maybe they're, you know, just buried under with other things, but,
Right, we're doing
I did
what we
try.
can legally to move it
Right.
forward, so.
so, that's all I have.
Okay.
Okay. Number 10, determine a deadline for entry ideas on the town flag entries. So Secretary Ann had the suggestions up on the website. Of course, we've had the Christmas lights going, and we've been really busy with that and preparations for that, and in the audit, I mean, it's just been, just this month has been brutal. But we hope to put that back up again, and when we do, have you gotten any any creative ideas?
No, I don't think that we've really publicized it enough. I mean, if we want the citizens to be involved. I mean, if you recall, I had sent you like a one sheet, kind of a mock-up one sheet.
Have we gotten, we've gotten the one back with the founded instead of since?
I think because we had to make all the signage for the Christmas lights because the name changed. I haven't gotten that back. I did request that. I haven't
Okay.
gotten that back yet, but the founded and that was kind of, I think we talked about last time. But do we want to put like a deadline on, we need to advertise, but again, we've had so much going on that on the website, there's been pop-ups for Christmas lights now, and understandably, I mean, it's this
Well,
Saturday.
for the next couple of weeks, people are gonna be pretty consumed with holidays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not gonna,
After the first
Yeah,
of the
it's
year.
probably not gonna happen until somewhere into January, so that they
So-
would even think about it.
do we want to put a so when we finally do put that pop-up back up, do we wanna, put a deadline for
Yeah,
entries?
either
And
the end of January
give
or-
our citizens a
End of
chance?
January.
End of January, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think we should have AI do it.
We can.
Well, you know,
See what it comes up with.
Claude and ChatGPT have been fun a little bit to work with, but yeah, we could bring that in the
Pretty
next
creative.
meeting, and if we put it up online and we get someone who wants to be creative, we'll bring that to council and in the packet. Any other comments on that? Okay. All right, we're, at J, the time is 8:56 and meeting adjourned.
8:56. It's 44 minutes of the legislative process.
I told him, please keep it to 15 to 20.
I love this stuff about the mud, but the 34 minutes before that, I'm not going.
He's very informed, but
He is very informed.
It was really
During a workshop.
learn more about it at local.
Well, maybe you should become a state legislator. Yeah. Start as a lobbyist. They'll teach you the ropes.
they need people who have done the city scene. They need people who've started and know how it all works, you know, from what I get.
Have to be mostly self